imagine that 9 to 5 you do, that plate you spin at work, spin 10 of those.
Yeah.
Try and have a wife, try and have a social life, try and have a really busy training as well, which I know you train quite a bit anyway.
Yeah.
Fitting all that in together, then your own time, then you got to sleep, eat, shit. You know, like you got to do like human things to actually survive.
Yeah.
Where the fuck's finding time?
Mate, mate, when we first started, because obviously we did like 65 to never be released, so like we wanted to make sure we had the skill set before actually going live with anything. When we were doing that, we were doing like 2-3 a week. Mate, it put some serious pressure on my relationship with my missus. So then after that, we realised like we want to outsource everything that is outsourceable, and then we'd dedicate 1 day a week to it. And then in terms of the editing, I'll take that, and then Cal does guest acquisition and a couple of other things as well. But like it's easier because there's 2 of us.
Yeah.
For me as well, mate, like I didn't launch the podcast. I have no intention of being Stephen Bartlett or Joe Rogan in terms of I don't have any intention of charting. I don't want to be first in Ukraine or first in fucking Kazakhstan.
Yeah, I know who you're aiming at.
No, I'm not aiming at anyone. But
no. I know there's someone that's like, oh, I'm the first in this country.
No,
it's like no one's even heard of it.
But there's no right or wrong, right? It's what's the reason you're doing it? So the reason for me was to have conversations with people, learn, and spread that message. So I'm self-funded. I haven't got a sponsor. I've got no one giving me any pressure. I can release once a month. I can release twice a week. I can release. I don't give a fuck because I don't care about the charts. So don't get me wrong. Podcast Labs are really good, and they're like, look, Ty, really, you're on a roll now. We should be doing one a week. But I've got probably 11 guests lined up.
Yeah.
I haven't emailed them to book them in.
That's mental.
And some of them are big, mate.
Yeah.
Some of them are big guests.
Mate, we hound, mate.
Yeah.
Like
you got to hound it. I'm doing it wrong. Mate. That's what I'm saying. You're doing it right.
We're hounders.
Yeah,
we're like message. And
I'm
then
like follow up because obviously work in sales, mate. So it's like follow up.
Instagram. As soon as we've seen the message again. LinkedIn. If they don't reply, email,
Facebook,
drop down, email message. It gets there with some people though, because like we're not really we haven't got a massive podcast. So like
nothing. Yeah.
To start with, like I was probably doing it a bit wrong with guest acquisition. I wasn't messaging so much. I was just messaging thinking these people will probably get back to me, but like hardly anyone gets back. So I think it was Jack just said, mate, just fucking
be ruthless,
just
mate.
be 10, 20 messages every day.
Everything you do, you should just be ruthless with like that though.
I agree. And it's not always personal. Like,
I wasn't aiming at you, by the way. People aren't getting back to me.
Oh yeah, you bobbed us off at the start, didn't ya?
Yeah, because it ain't LinkedIn me, mate. LinkedIn for me, I'll be honest. LinkedIn for me is just fucking spam.
Yeah,
that's fair, mate.
If I look at my LinkedIn inbox, there's like 1 in 100 messages of someone genuine like Callum. The rest are like, "Hi, do you want B2B? Hi."
Yeah,
I'm not sure I'm having it. Do you know that? Didn't you come back with something about production quality or something along those lines?
Did, mate.
I'll
Don't worry, mate.
boys.
We're here.
You can be honest, man. There's no hiding the message.
There's no emotion for us boys.
I was helping leveling you up.
Yeah.
Look at
That's fair. That's fair.
Appreciate it, to be fair.
you now. You're over. How many episodes have you done now?
In terms of live ones, we're now 25.
But we've done over 100.
So I only released 24 yesterday. So you've now overtaken me. How long?
Well, we've been live
25.
Yeah.
Oh no, we started doing 2 a week. Do you remember the first 14?
You've not been a year yet. Nowhere near.
No, we've been
We've been
live.
over a year, but we did everything in the background, so we never
haven't
released that
launched.
stuff. Yeah, nowhere near half a year.
Episode 1. When did it launch?
February the
This Feb?
20th, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Amazing.
February 20th, March, April, May, June.
Amazing.
July.
mate. We just try to whatever we do. I said to Cal, whatever it is, even if it's these like tacky lights, like just micro scaling up.
Just little incremental.
Yeah, just consistently. If it's the shorts, it's like improve them.
Yep.
If it's the podcast audio, improve it. If we're too vanilla in that episode, improve it. And then just keep compounding that until like, you've got top tier content.
You got to enjoy it, mate. You got to rate it. If it's something you'd listen to, you just stay true to that and carry on.
Bang on, innit? It's if you listen to it.
If you listen to, I listen to every episode naturally before it goes live of my own, as you guys would have to of your own show. And I listen to it sometimes. I'm laughing along with them, and it's me.
Do you ever look at yourself and you're like, mate, you're corny?
I am goofy.
Yeah, like sometimes I look at I said to Cal, watch myself, and I'm like, fucking hell, did I actually say that? I was like, where did that come from? Because you get gassed by like the guests.
You got this thing when you're at school where you think you're cool, or you think you're hanging around with the cool kids. It's only when you get a bit older, like we're all like the fucking in-betweeners.
Yeah.
Like me and my boys, like.
Wow, I don't know about that, mate. I don't know. I'd rather not.
No, but I know you say something and you're like, you say something and you're like, I sounded slick in the moment. You listen back to it, you're like,
goon,
cornball, bro.
It is good. But generally, yeah, like we're not. I don't know. Like,
what's your plan with it?
You put this with the podcast.
Yeah. You got any goals or anything?
I just want to keep it going. It's something I enjoy. Like it's something that doesn't feel like a chore. I enjoy doing it. It feels like a therapy session for me. Yeah. It feels like a therapy session for the guests. We get to just chat shit for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
You get caught up in this room. You forget that loads of people might be listening to it.
Yeah, it's
you
true.
pour your heart and soul out. I just really enjoy it, man. I take something away from all of them. I'm quite open-minded. So I just think like it's learning, right?
The thing is, you have to be open-minded to do something like this, because if you close minded, you're sat with it. Like your most recent guest, like fucking hell, you've got to be really open-minded to be able to have a 2-hour conversation.
The thing is, I watched that clip, the one that did really well on TikTok on that, and like I actually thought there was like, it felt like there was some logic behind what he was saying, even though it was so far-fetched. I was like, it kind of like the way he's pieced it together, it kind of adds up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
His fundamental message, I wholeheartedly agree with, and his fundamental message is question everything. When you're born and when you're growing up, we're why children, right? We why everything. When you, I don't have any kids, and I don't know if you guys do, but if you ask your parents, they'll tell you that there was a period in your life when whatever they said, you said why. And we stopped that because the educational system kind of educates it out of us. We stop questioning. We just believe what we're told. And that's all Joe's saying. The fundamental is question everything. Keep asking why.
Mate, over the past probably 3 years, I've realised that like a lot of the stuff that I thought beforehand isn't exactly what it is perceived to be. And like obviously COVID was like the biggest thing for me to actually like open my eyes. And then like people like Andrew Tate and other people like Jordan Peterson, like certain people that have like highlighted certain things to me. But when you start looking in the rabbit hole, like you realize how fucking deep it gets. And then you're like, Jesus, like this is across the board.
Yeah. Like
even if it's education, if it's like, I don't know, anything in terms of like the status quotas. Now I'm like, I'm not sure on that.
Even at smaller level, mate, if you look at it around your own lives, look at the whether they, I think the headphones are off.
Oh, that's all right. Crack on.
Ignore me. It just felt like it went.
Yeah.
Go on. A bit dull. Even if you look at it at like your own relationships, right? Your partners or what you're doing, the games you play without realizing you're playing them, or the power plays at work, you know, what your boss does to leverage you to do stuff, all these sort of things that it happens in day-to-day life, but we don't notice it. All you've got to do is magnify it. It happens across the board, from politics to, you know, all of it, from authorities to police, everywhere. It's the same thing.
That's an interesting way to look at it, actually. I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah, humans are weird as well, because like corruption is just throughout every level, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because everyone just wants the best option for themselves. They can say they don't, but like in reality, everyone wants like to have the easiest route or the best route to get to their goals and their desires.
Yeah, that's true. But like when you put it like that on a micro scale, I've never really actually thought about it like that, because it does happen. Like thinking about from my life, it happens day to day. Like there's constant like little power struggles, little tiny little tactical moves.
Who's going to do the dishes? Who's going to cook? Who's going to clean?
Well,
these little manoeuvres. I get you. But you know, even them little banter ones, like, oh, babe, can you turn the light off? You're better at it. You know them.
Yeah.
I'm a big player of that.
It's the same shit.
Yeah, it is. Cal, that's a bit of you, to be fair.
I'm like, do you know what? You excel at that, Leanne. Leanne's my girlfriend. Like, you excel at that. That's your role.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. Just at a bigger level and a little bit more covert. So there's a book called 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
I would like to say I've read it, but like, mate, it is a hefty book. So I've read a fair few chapters of it.
It is a hefty book. And each chapter is a law, but it's all power plays, mate. It's really, really interesting. The more
Never
you read
outshine the master and stuff like
all
that.
Stuff. When you read it, you think each chapter for me triggers back to a certain person, a certain scenario where I thought, fuck, that's what they were doing. I thought they were being really nice. I thought they were helping me. I thought they were doing this. But actually, they were playing that play, or they were playing this play.
Mate, I've been played before when it comes to business a few times. Like, I look back at it now, and I always remember this like pivotal moment. I sat down with a business coach at the time, and I was talking about the business. I was talking through things, and he looked me dead in the eyes, and he goes, "You know what you are, don't you?" I said, "What?" He goes, "You're a glorified salesman. You're not building a business." And I remember being in that moment like, what does he mean by that? Like, and I look back at it now and I'm like, he was so on the money. How did I not see me being played like that, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
But like, it's hindsight, isn't it? And you only gain that through experience or being played or playing.
Nothing substitutes experience.
It doesn't.
Nothing substitutes experience.
It actually doesn't. You can read as many books as you want, like on business, until you've been in it. Like
I'm a walking billboard for that. That's all I have is experience. I have no degree. I didn't really finish college. Like, I did my GCSEs, but everything I've done is for experience. And I've been pretty fortunate. My dad's pretty profound, and he talks, you know, he's always brought me up in a way where he's taught me a lot of like life lessons that you wouldn't necessarily learn from school or from wherever. And even still, even though he's told me, he said, look, son, be careful of this type of person because they'll do X, Y, and Z to get you here. I'm like, yeah, Dad, it's all good. And what happens? That happens.
They do it.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
And the thing is, like, usually you can feel it out, but you just ignore your gut. And your gut's, like, obviously based on intuition. You should just never go against your gut when it comes to that stuff, because those people are usually, like, a bit sneaky or a bit slimy, and you can sense it straight away.
The thing is, though, it's like the mind's like well, with me anyway, the mind's a constant battle with the gut. Because, like,
they should be working in harmony, though.
They should, but sometimes I get, like, a thought and I'm just like, oh, I should do that. And then my gut's like, nah, don't do that. And I'm like convincing myself. I'm like, nah, that's not my gut. And then I'm like, nah, I should do that. And sometimes it's like a confusing struggle between gut and mind, but gut is always right.
And they say, like, the gut is, like, unbelievably, like, parallel with, like, the mind to a certain degree. Like, they say, like, gut health is, like, key to, like, cognitive function and, like, cortisol levels and everything around that. So it's like,
it's quite new, those studies, in terms of, like, probably only the last 5 years I've seen stuff where they're now connecting gut and brain health.
Yeah, but it makes sense. Like, it's what you eat. So,
It makes complete sense.
How could that not be parallel with, like, focus or whatever else? You're like, it's a no-brainer. Then you actually think about things logically.
Have you ever done a gut test?
Yeah, loads.
Have you?
Mate, I'm a nutter. I've got 2 data watches on, as you can see.
Yeah.
Huberman over here.
I love data, and I think I'm a prevention over cure person. So my wife calls me a hypochondriac, but what it is if I think something is out, I know my body quite well. If I feel something's out, what's the reason to wait around to see if it's serious or not? I'll just go and get it checked out. I'm fortunate enough that I can go and get it checked out, and I'm not on about necessarily clogging up the NHS all the time. A lot of the time I go private because I'm looking to optimise, and the NHS isn't there for optimisation, it's there for serious health conditions. That's what it was set up for after the war. But yeah, loads of gut health. So I have MOTs every year. I've had a camera everywhere, just checked everything over, because I was bloating a lot, and one of our one of Ben's friends had passed away from bowel cancer, and around that period everyone was like a bit like, oh, my stomach's a bit weird naturally. But I always was getting bloating when I was eating, so I went to a doctor. I said, look, I'm bloating a lot when I eat everything. Whatever I eat and drink, I'm bloating. And they checked, and I was completely fine. I probably need more of a allergy test to see if I'm, like, lactose intolerant or something.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I suffer with bloating. My mate said to me the other day, like, what are you, a bird or something? I do, yeah. Like, digestion's nasty, bro. I think that's why I care about it so much, because I experience it. Like, if I eat something that's, like, really starchy or something like that, then, like, I could actually have, like, brain fog the next morning. And I'm like, the only variable is the food. Yeah,
that's what actually made me think. So your most recent guest you had on, when I think he was speaking about, was there a clip about veganism? Yeah, and he was saying that, like, you are what you eat. I know cliche saying, but about how you're saying you're eating animals who have experienced trauma. Like, I actually sort of, like, I'm really open-minded to that sort of thing, because it makes complete sense. Because it's like us, like, modern studies nowadays suggest that, like, if you're eating these types of foods, then it affects the way you go day to day. So, like, actually, when I heard that, it actually made sense.
So there's 2 elements of it, right? So he's, from a moral stance, he said one thing, but the other element I actually agree with, you're right. So when an animal's about to die, when we're about to die, your body does release a chemical. Is it cortisol? It releases
DMT.
If you're stressed,
DMT
is well for humans. If you're stressed, you release a different chemical, and that's what he was kind of saying. So all that chemical stuff is within the blood and within the meat, and you are eating it. I just don't know if it's transferable, which I couldn't argue with him because I'm not a scientist. Like, I don't know. I get what he's saying. So the meat hasn't, like, been, without sounding gruesome, shot in the head from a kilometre away and didn't know it was coming and just stopped working. it's had the fear of being in that line to be slaughtered and then been slaughtered. Whether that transfers into the meat in any form that we can absorb into us, I don't know. Because he was talking from a like spiritual, moral ground, and then also an actual chemical, physiological ground. I don't really know the answer, to be honest. It makes sense. It makes sense that most animals, maybe even some plants, I think I read somewhere, would release like a toxin as they about to die.
Yeah,
we're eating that.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. To be fair, I want to try the carnivore diet. But if I was going to do that, I'd want to get all the meat from the butchers and make sure it's grass fed.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like, I guess partially for that as well. I know Rogan does it, but I think with a carnivore diet, when you go on it, you enter like a low ketosis state.
Yeah.
Because like essentially you're basically fasting throughout the period because you've got no carbs. So I've done like a 7-day water fast a couple of times now. And when you're on that, you feel 10 out of 10. So like Rogan talks about being on like a continuous state of that just because you're in ketosis for like...
What do you mean water fast? Just eating just water?
Yeah, mate.
For how long?
7 days, mate. I've done it 5 times now, to be fair.
What, no coffee?
Oh yeah, coffee.
Coffee.
Black Americano. Yeah,
and
green tea because you don't break your fast off it.
Okay, green tea, black. Yeah, so like a normal fast, but 7 days.
Yeah, mate, 168 hours. Mate, it does something to your relationship with food. You just realise like how much like marketing and how much is plastered around food continuously because you're fucking starving. So you're just looking at it like salivating, watching like.
Yeah, I got like actually when he was deep in there, I got around his house and he's watching. There's a YouTube channel called The Greatest Food Review Show. Maybe it's this guy that travels around.
G, mate.
And I've caught him on the sofa just watching this guy in like Vietnam eating noodles. I'm like, bro, what are you watching? He goes, I'm 5 days deep, mate.
Can't help myself.
Surely
mate.
You can't train when you're like that.
I do, yeah.
Do you feel a bit like?
Just go light, mate. Just like really light. No high intensity cardio either, mate. Because like you blowing. I boxed actually on the last one, and like I felt awful, mate. Like I felt weak. I felt like slow. Reactions were shorter as well. Like just not in the zone for it.
When I was younger, like probably 18 to 21, keto diet was always my favourite if we were going on a lad's holiday. It worked really well with my body. So I would just do like meat, protein effectively, and fat, no carbs.
That's decent.
It worked so well for me.
It's funny because everything
shredded on it, but I didn't feel sustainable on it. So I could do it for 10, 12 weeks. I just felt a bit unhealthy. Maybe it was placebo because you're eating steak and eggs for breakfast. Just felt wrong.
Yeah.
But then who's saying it's wrong? It's wrong because society tells you steak's dinner and not breakfast.
It's true. That's actually so true.
There's nothing on a label going eat this for dinner.
And breakfast is a scam as well.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, actually is. It was a market employee in order to basically boost like meat sales. It's the same guy that did cigarettes, which basically tied cigarettes to female empowerment with getting the vote, so they could increase the sales of cigarettes.
Smart play.
It is a smart play, to be fair.
To increase the sales.
Yeah, it is. I am actually interested though. Like, obviously, you mentioned when you're younger. Like, where did you actually grow up?
So, I was born in Turkey, which I tell a lot of people I was born in England. It makes life a bit easier. I don't know, man. I mean, it's changed a lot now, but 20 years ago, when you said you were born in Turkey, you were an immigrant. When you said you were born in London, you became a local, even though you were more tanned and had bushier eyebrows. So for years, I just said I was born in London, but I was actually born in Turkey. We moved to England, to London when I was 2 years old. My mum and dad came here so I can have a better life, because times were tough there in those days. We were in Istanbul. And lived in London till I was probably 9 or 10. And then we quickly identified the areas that we could afford to live in London were shit, as bad as Istanbul. We lived on a road called Murder Mile. You can Google it, it's horrendous.
Sounds hefty.
Yeah, people killing each other all the time. There was like 8 murders in like 6 months or something crazy. And so Dad used to, every time he had a day off, he'd kind of drive down and try and find a little seaside town or somewhere nicer for me to grow up. And bizarrely found Swanage, which is like a little seaside town across the ferry.
It's a random one.
Very random, mate. So we moved there. I think I might have been 9, actually. We moved there for a year, couldn't make it work, moved back to London for a year, and then we moved back, I think when I was about 11.
What's your dad doing, like, at that point, work-wise?
He had a little kebab van. Mate, he's come to the UK, right, don't speak any English, don't have any money, nothing. And obviously, like, found some Turks, worked with them, bought a little van, used to get shooed along. You're literally Donna Kebab Man. That's it. That's a kebab man. When I say I'm a kebab man, it's not banter. It's genuine.
Thing is, I rate kebabs. I actually
grew
like
up on
them.
them.
Yeah.
So in London, we couldn't really afford to eat. So we would have what Dad couldn't sell, the doner, that fucking elephant leg that you lot take the piss out of and have at 2 a.m. That was my nutritionist diet that I had breakfast, lunch and dinner. We lived in slept in one bed, one room, me, mum and dad.
Remember it?
I remember it, yeah. I was there till 10. So,
really?
So don't get me wrong. So from the age of probably 14, 15, Dad had a bit of a small little empire starting to build when we were in Swanage. So life got really good.
Up until that point,
I remember everything. I remember them not eating some nights because we could only afford for one of us to eat, and they would let me eat.
That's deep, innit?
Yeah, it's deep and it's humbling. And anytime I get a little bit carried away, my mum and dad are still in Swanage. I drive to Swanage and I have an hour with my dad. The guy is incredible, mate. What he grew up in is 100 times worse than me. And then obviously, I'm fortunate. I grew up in one of the nicest countries, safest countries in the world, like England, and on the south coast, right?
Take it for granted, don't you?
Anytime I need some humbling, like I'll go to my dad and I'll be I'm stressed, Dad. He's like, son, stop. We might play a game of chess. We played a lot of it growing up. What you stressed about? Fucking, I hit my tyre on a pothole, my fucking tyres burst, the council won't give me my money back. Like, what a fucking first world problem to moan about. He's like, whoa, this is all in Turkish obviously. He's like, whoa. He said, what? He said, nothing's happened to you? No. Nothing's happened to Claudia? No. You got food yet? You got a house yet? You're worried about what? Your 100 grand's tyres burst, 100 grand car, your tyres burst on your 100 grand car, and you're fortunate enough to buy a new one anyway. I was like, yeah. He said, fuck, what are you talking about?
Yeah. It's fair though, isn't it? Because you get caught up in the moment because like that's just your normal now. But like if you just have someone who's, you know, like my mum's good for me for that. Like if I say, oh, mum, I'm skint at the moment, she's like, got your rent money? Like, yeah. She's like, it's all right then, isn't it? You're like, yeah, fair. Yeah. Can't really argue that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to check yourself, mate. And I think your life partner's important with that as well. Like Claudia and I are very good with that. So there's times when she's stressing about something, and I'll try and check her in terms of be like, look, you know, your mate said this and it annoyed you. Your mate said that and it annoyed you, but don't take it personal. They might be having a bad day at home. You don't know what they're going through. Like,
you don't even know the context of when it was said, right?
Them saying that to you or lashing out at you or being a bit short with you is probably, if anything, you should check in on them. Yeah. If anything, that's a cry for help. That's their way. They're outwardly projecting that problem they're having in their life. And then she'll do the same for me. I'll come home and stress and talk about some shit, and none of it really matters, mate. If you zoom far out enough, we'll be dead in 60 years, 80 years.
It's so the world funny goes on. You say that.
And also Jack's his favourite saying is like, we're living on a flying rock.
Yeah, in space.
He says it all the time. We're living on a flying rock in space.
It's true.
I know it's funny, cliche, but it's fucking true.
It's mental though. Like there's like, I think like, I honestly think I heard from Brian Cox, there's like 100 million Earth-like planets in the Milky Way galaxy alone. And I was like, nothing really matters, does it? Do you know what I mean? Like,
and like I read every morning. I read one page from Daily Stoic and one page from Daily Laws. One's by Robert Greene, one's by Ryan Holiday. Two of my favourite authors. And if you look at those passages from like Marcus Aurelius from thousands of years ago, you know, one of the world's most powerful emperors, he had the same shit problems that we have day to day.
Bang on, yeah.
The same problems. You know, the context has changed. We're talking about an Instagram post. He's talking about the gossip around town because there's no fucking pen and paper and they couldn't write anything. But it's the same shit. And we all go through life thinking that what we're doing is super important. You know, your mum wants to see you. Oh, mum, I'm busy with work. You know, your friends want to see you. I'm busy doing this. And you're sort of like picking who you want to spend time with because it suits your agenda of where you're trying to achieve. But none of it fucking matters.
Mate, we've all got main character syndrome, mate, when in reality, like, what we do isn't really significant to anyone other than the people that are in our circle, let alone, like, ourselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But when you die, you know, all that stuff you thought was important is gone.
Yeah.
Like, how many days are people going to grieve? You know, like, how long till they forget you and carry on? They have no option.
Yeah.
They have to carry on. You guys would have lost loved ones, right? You know, you lose a loved one, you lose whatever it might be, a pet, a family member, whatever it is that means something to you. And the sun goes down and the sun comes up.
Kevin Hart, mate. The sun don't stop for nobody, mate.
Exactly. I shared that video not long ago. Or in Joe's terms, the sun goes round and round because he has flat.
Yeah.
But like, it goes up and down. So you've got no option. Yeah, you can stay in bed and cry for a little bit, maybe for a day, maybe for 2 days, maybe 3 days. Then what? The bills are still going to come.
Yeah. It's the bills, mate. They're still there. They're fucking there every month, mate. They ain't going anywhere.
You know, and I get it. And people are like, oh, Ty, don't be so stressed. You know, relax. You know, I want to take my shoes off and live shoeless on a fucking desert island somewhere. Who's going to pay my mortgage?
Yeah.
I've got responsibilities.
100%.
We hire over 250 people across all the businesses. Who's going to fucking pay their wages?
Yeah.
Those people rely on that income to feed their families. Like, that's an immense amount of pressure. That for me is more pressure than anything else. More pressure than paying rent and paying tax and paying. This is real people's lives, real things we're talking about.
Yeah, mate, I'm completely with you, mate. But like, it is so easy for us to sit here and say it now. But like, when you're caught up in the moment,
yeah,
it feels like the biggest thing in the world, right? It's just because you're looking at things from a micro perspective on a timeline. You need to just zoom out and just be like, fuck it, I'll get through this. I'll get through everything.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I haven't got this figured out. Like I'm as fucked as the rest of us. You know, I'm exactly the same.
Trust me.
I get caught up. I do everything. This is a journey that I'm kind of working on. But in these sort of scenarios, when you say it out loud, it kind of fucking makes sense.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing that, you idiot?
Yeah, and we
it's
always
all good preaching about it.
And it's like, we all know what you should be doing anyway.
Yeah.
Like, we all know. Like, for example, you told us earlier. Like, at the moment, last couple of weeks, you fell off training a bit. It's fair to say.
Last couple of months. Mate.
Last couple of months. you know, banging a gym, banging a fitness, banging a diet, it's going to alleviate stress. But like, you just needed to hit that point on the drop off where you're like, fuck me, I need to get back in shape. And it's just like, it's all obvious, isn't it?
I mean, for me, with that, like, my sleeping's shit, I'm stressed, I've got brain fog, my skin's shit, like, my clothes don't fit, everything is bad, right?
The clothes don't fit is the nastiest one. When you put on a tee and you're like, this is tight.
But then but I know all the answers. So like, I'm stressing about it, I'm moaning at my missus at home, I'm doing whatever. But I know, I just need to fucking eat clean, exercise and move. Like, as soon as I do that, 50% of my shit's gone anyway, all my stress.
Go and see the boys, go for a run with the boys, like, go and have a little moment with them, go do this, go do that. Like, it all helps.
We're tribal creatures, aren't we? I think, like, you have to feel a part of something greater than yourself, whether that's a community, whether that's we're tribal, as I said. Like, if you look at punishment for a human, you get put in a box of 6x4.
Isolated.
You get isolated. And this is what fucked most of us during COVID. We were isolated. That's the biggest punishment for a human. You've only got to read back of kind of our DNA. There's a great book called Sapiens. I mean, it's fucking hard to read.
Fat book.
Yeah, I brought that, and the size of it put me off a little bit.
Audiobook it. The guy's voice is alien, but it's much better than reading it. But that book actually says a load of shit, supposedly, of our DNA makeup of why we act the way we act. But there was loads of things in that book when I kind of thought, that would explain, like, you know, impulses. That would explain feelings you might have. That would explain why you might feel a certain way. And as long as you can kind of make sense of it, I think, and understand it, you can act on it correctly.
100%. Like, I literally need community. Like, if I'm not a part of something, if I'm not working towards, it's definitely a man thing as well. If I'm not working towards something or making progression, like, the worst place for me is to be stagnant.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's just a skill acquisition, like with work, like if I'm not learning anymore, I'm just like, this is crap. I'll get uneasy and I'll be like, I'll end up doing something rash with like quitting or doing this or doing that. But like, I think it's for every bloke, like, you need progression in life. Yeah. If you aren't aiming at something and moving forward towards it, then like, what are you doing?
I went to a talk probably like 8-9 years ago now in London with Jordan Belfort, the original.
The OG, man.
Yeah, the OG.
Yeah.
And he said a lot of things. I was fucking scribbling away, but there was one thing that stuck with me since then, and it was, there's two states in life. He said, you're either growing or you're dying.
Bang on.
And he said, the moment that you stop growing and stop learning is when you start dying. I don't think we ever stop growing or should ever stop growing, at least from a mental perspective. Our bodies might. So the moment you think you know it all, he said, is when you start to die.
Yeah.
That relates to what you said.
100%. And Jordan Belfort is the OG, mate. Like, I've done the straight line theory. I've done a few of other things that he's done in terms of sales school and stuff. And like, he is continuously working on it. Like, I think he's like 65 or 60 or 65. And like, he's definitely on TRT as well, to be fair.
I mean, a lot of the states are now, a lot of the actors, a lot of the, you know, all that kind of celebrity world, they're all on it now.
100%. Bro, let's pull back. So things are quite tight up until 11. And then you're trying to go to Swanage, doesn't work out for the first year. What happens next? Do you guys move back down here, or?
We moved back to London for a year. And And obviously we don't own anything, right? So it's very easy for us to pack up and go. We've got a van that you drive, 3-seater, and the back of it's the kebab shop. So it's like almost like a modern day T5 camper, but it's a shitty old, I don't know what it was.
It's a mobile home with a few dollars.
Literally.
A couple shishas.
Literally. And it's got like this thing that you put the gas canister to fire up the Donner machine. We went back, then we moved back down south, and then there's a guy that we kind of owe a lot to, a guy called Mick Storer in Swanage, who allowed, so my dad kept getting shooed on by the council because you haven't got permission to just set up shop and start selling fucking kebabs like outside the Hilton.
I didn't even, do you know what? Naively, I didn't even think you'd have to get a permit for that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sure. It's a mobile shop, isn't it?
Yeah, I just didn't even take that into consideration.
It's like if you went to the square now and started selling those tops, 2 minutes, mate, you'd have the Rangers there saying, mate, let me see your permit.
They're too much for me, mate.
Just, the Rangers.
That whole situation. I saw someone busking down there and they were like sticking it on them, and I was just like, fucking hell.
What were they wearing though?
I think it was
it black or the red?
The black.
They're different.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the town centre Rangers wear red. For me, they're a bit more approachable, a bit nice. And
the other one's got like the bulletproof vests on.
So the ones that look like SWAT team are generally an external security company that the council pay to do
tough guys.
Stuff that they don't want to do, basically.
Right.
And they're trying to fine you when you drop your gum and that kind of stuff. And it is a bit
pathetic.
It's a bit of a grey area, I've had a few kind of rows with them, not necessarily on my behalf because my brain's there, if you know what I mean. I know what's what, and I can play the game. But you know, when some old deer's getting something out of a bag and it's windy and something falls out and they're trying to find them, I ain't having that. That's brilliant.
No way.
Yeah.
So I jump straight in and think I can save the world.
Help them out. So, mate, you go back to London. What was it like going back to London?
I don't know, mate. It felt familiar because we were only down here like 11 months. It probably, if anything, it felt familiar. All my friends were there. Like my whole life, as far as I'm concerned, was there. Then we came back down here, and as I said, Mick gave my dad a spot so he can park his kebab van. And he parked it. We had I think we had a council flat for a while. The council helped us out, put us in a home. And he kind of built that, and then took on a little lease of a shop and opened a kebab shop, which is still there in Swanage.
Are you working in like their family business at this point? Like, are you helping out and stuff like that?
I'm young. I'm 10, 11, 12, 13. Sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of. Like, Dad's very unorthodox for a Turk, right? They normally have him in at 8 years old working like fucking donkeys.
Yeah, like son of an immigrant. Like it's stereotypical for you to be in the business early doors. So Gary Vee style.
Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah. So I had a bit of that, but my dad was also of the mind, I don't want him to be a kebab man. I don't want him to just eat bread and grow up like us eating bread because it numbs your brain. You know, I don't want him to do X. So although I did help him, he tried to let me do my own thing, push me on my own path effectively. But I did work in a kebab shop. Yeah, I worked. We also had some Wimpy franchises. I worked in a Wimpy for ages as well. Used to get picked on for that at school a bit. But
mate, I was actually going to mention that. Like, what was it like at school being like a Turkish lad and your dad owns like a mobile kebab shop?
It wouldn't matter in London, even in those days. But obviously we moved. We didn't even move to Bournemouth, mate. We moved to Swanage. Swanage has got like, I think now it's got 11,000 people living there. So
tiny.
So BCP's 360,000 roughly, to give you an idea. It's fucking tiny. It had no Indian restaurant, no Chinese restaurant when we went there. None of that. No black people. Nothing. So we turned up, three of us, me, mum, and dad, tanned. Dark hair, big bushy eyebrows, foreign. So school was a bit weird, mate. Yeah, you know, you didn't always get picked for sports. You were picked on a little bit. There's a lot of times I was called a packy and these kind of things growing up. But on the whole, like if I look back now, at the time I was angry and upset. But if I look back now, a lot of it is just they don't have the knowledge. There was not the ones that were picking on me, calling me packy, but the ones that were a bit off with me. I don't think there was any malice, mate. If you go to a deserted tribe in the middle of the Congo somewhere or wherever in the Amazon, and all they've seen is a type of person, so a black person with paint on them, as you see, I'm stereotyping, and they've never seen a blonde kid with blue eyes with white skin.
It's going to be weird, isn't it?
The first time they see one, they're naturally, a baby does it.
Yeah.
There's no malice. You know, but first time a baby might see something a bit different to what they're used to. They might cry. They might act, they might love it and laugh, whatever. So I think when I look back now, these people that were making my life hard, I don't think there was, a lot of the time, 90% of them, I don't think there was any malice. I just think they didn't know. We were the first family there that were a little bit different.
That must be weird as a kid, though.
I mean, now it's amazing, mate. There's like 4 Indians there. There's an Indian takeaways, 3 Chinese takeaways. It's real mixed. And genuinely, I think as time goes on, everywhere's getting more multicultural. It's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back then it wasn't.
No, not at all. Swanage is generally middle class white. It's quite affluent. Loads of holiday homes. Loads of, they call it God's waiting room. So loads of elderly with money, but generally pretty white.
Yeah. Yeah. So what happens with you then after school? Like, I can imagine at school, you mentioned earlier, bit of a tough time. In terms of academics, you weren't really on it too much unless there was a deadline.
I had a really short attention span. I still have a really short attention span. I've never gone and got anything checked out, don't get me wrong. So I try not labeling it, but I can't concentrate for long. Like you boys have me for 2 hours. I'm concentrating now to be in the room. I keep floating away and I'm like, fuck.
Don't worry, bro, we got you.
What was he saying? What's his name again? So at school was good, mate. Like I wasn't a naughty kid, don't get me wrong. I wasn't a bad kid. I just, I was trying to fit in. I guess I've done a load of work with this with therapy, loads of work now, trying to unpack all of this. And it all stems down to trying to fit in. Everything I do in life, even now, all the businesses I do, all the community work I do, all the charity work I do, apparently all stems back to me being that young kid trying to fit in, trying to get picked for the team, trying to, people be friends with me. So at school, I kind of was whatever I needed to be in every group. That did build a very good skill set in me. I'm like a chameleon.
Social butterfly.
Yeah, so I was skating with the skaters. I was in a band with the band people. I promise you.
What band are we talking?
We had our own band, mate.
On the drums or something?
Yeah, so I had a drum kit, I had an electric guitar, I used to sing. Mate, I
used to
skateboarded.
Sing? Fuck off.
I promise you, mate.
No, I didn't expect that. That's a curveball, mate.
I promise you. So I grew up just fucking a bit of everything. Like, I was a grunger with the grungers, I was a skater with the skaters, I was whatever. I was a townie with the townies with Reebok Classics on, trying to pull the birds. I just did what I had to do. So I was naughty with the naughty kids because I wanted them to accept me. So it wasn't really me, I think deep down I was always this person I am today. I just didn't know where I fit into society. So I was almost trialing it all. It's a funny age, isn't it? School, how tough is school, by the way, when you look back now?
It's also probably the fact that you're the only Turkish kid at school, right? Like, that's definitely got to play a part 100%. In that. Like, I can only imagine what that feels like on the flip side, where you're like, you're just wanting to be liked. And it's a new city, it's a new town, you're like 13, it's like a transitional age in itself anyway.
Tough age.
Do you know what I mean? And then you've got all that on your plate, and then you're also working the kebabi, you're working Wimpy. It's like, fucking hell, no wonder you just wanted to be sweet with everyone.
Yeah.
Mate, the maddest thing is, all of those things at school that I felt were my weak point and that I didn't like about myself are now all of my strengths.
100%, yeah.
Like, it's absolutely mental. So from all aspects, from having a beard young and having a tan, I didn't want a beard. I didn't want a tan because everyone had fucking no hair and was fair. Now I've got English friends getting beard transplants and getting their beards dyed at a local fucking Kurdish barbershop to look more like how I look naturally.
Yeah.
We work 3 months of the year to go on a week holiday for what? To tan.
Yeah.
To look like what? To look like this.
To look like this guy.
No, but like...
I know what you're saying.
It's fucking mental.
Yeah, it's weird how things go around like that. It's just like...
In such a short time span as well. Like, you've gone from not wanting to, well, by the sounds of it, not wanting to look like that, and now it's like everyone else wants to look like that.
Mate, when I first got into business, when I first opened Halo, I was 24, and I used to dress like a middle-class white guy.
Yeah, like Priva vibes.
Yeah.
Like suit, shirt.
No, but like nothing, not there's anything wrong with this before I fucking say it and everyone listening going, oh, I wear those. But like boat shoes, chinos, a shirt tucked in with a fucking tweed jumper and with an overcoat. You know, that kind of
dead as well.
You know,
Yeah.
But you know that look, that kind of like prep, a bit preppy.
Yeah.
What we call now preppy in society. Because I thought, they're not going to take me seriously if I'm in activewear, if I'm in all black, because I already look a bit dodge anyway. I drive a car, blacked out windows. I'm fucking foreign. Maybe I'm going to need to look a bit more white.
Yeah.
Like,
the thing is, you're probably not even consciously thinking that as well. So like in that moment, you're picking top man gear over what you'd want to use because like you're just like, oh, I'll play it low key. I don't want any more.
Mate, I was a walking Next model, basically. Next was big then. There was no fucking Zara and all that in those days. Next.
Yeah.
Next for men was banging. You two might be a bit younger.
Yeah, we're too young for that. We're top man at 27.
Yeah, 28.
Yeah.
30,
I was,
35.
what sort of age were you repping them Next? Because I was a Hollister. I went for a Hollister phase, Hollister and Abercrombie.
Yeah, that was everyone's phase.
I rocked that for a bit, but I was a bit older when that was big. I was probably more like 18.
Yeah.
Whereas Next was like...
It was like 5 years before
There was
our
a
time.
Next catalogue that used to come to your house.
And it used to be expensive because like it was credit based, wasn't it? And it would be like you could get a jumper in there, it would be like 45s and it would usually be like 30s, but like you could get it on credit.
Yeah.
And you used to run up the catalogues and then... Yeah,
that's it. So me and Mum would sit for the catalogue. I'd sit through it, fold the pages that I liked stuff.
Yeah. I remember.
She'd
like the Argos one back in the day.
She'd then go through and whatever order what I wanted. But yeah, it's a funny old setup. But yeah, like now, I mean, probably. Where am I now? 35. Probably like 7-8 years ago, I just thought, fuck it. Like I've done what I've got to do. I don't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. To an extent, I'm going to dress as I want, act as I want, listen to what I want. And they either want me or they don't.
Mate, I think
I'll go to a bank meeting now. I'll go to a council meeting. You know, I had a round table with an MP, funny enough, in his hotel talking about cleaning the town centre up. And I was wearing pretty much what I'm wearing now.
Yeah.
A black T-shirt, black cargo shorts and some trainers. And everyone else is in suits.
Mate, I think it's age 25. We've talked about this on the podcast with other lads. Like, obviously, we speak to a lot of lads who are in a similar position to us or similar interests and stuff. Age 25, after that, you just realise, like, who you are to a certain degree, and you just don't really give a fuck if people don't like you at that point.
Yeah, it's true.
Obviously you still want people to like you, don't get me wrong, but like just to a certain degree, like that age for me was like the transition. It's like, oh, I need to sort my shit out and I'm just going to be who I am. Do you know what I mean?
I always say about tattoos, like a man, let me say this politically correctly, a biological man should not be allowed a tattoo till they're 25. That's my opinion, because I don't think we're deformed until we're 25 mentally.
Yeah, the brain's not functioning.
We're not
properly.
like women, mate. Remember at school, you're 14, you've got no armpit hair, and the girls walking around massive tits. Like, you're like, what the fuck? Like, I haven't even had my first boner yet. You know, like that's how kind of I think we're behind as guys. I had my first one at 16. I'm midway through lasering it off.
Yeah,
I had one on my neck that's now been completely lasered off. Like, so 25 is the age I feel for a guy.
Yeah, 25 is where you're like, I need to get my shit together. I've had a party and like I've had it off for a few years. Like now it's time to get things right. But mate, let's pull back. So straight after school, what did you dive into?
So my old man basically said, son, look, no one in our history in our family ever been to university, you know, go to university, all this kind of stuff. What did I do? So I left school. I actually got 7 GCSEs, but they're all C's. I got 7 C's, 2 D's and an E. But I didn't revise. I just fucking rocked up because I was like, whatever, sort of thing. And I still actually did all right. So part of me now thinks, I wish I fucking studied a bit. I might have got the odd A here and there. After that, I went back to sixth form. Did that for about 6 months, struggled because it was obviously it's the school you're in, you're going back to. So it's very hard to then be an adult in that school. I left. I then went to Bournemouth College. I came here. And I fucking tried everything, mate. The boys used to call me Stiffmeister.
Is that the first time you come to Bournemouth then?
No, I'd been to Bournemouth as a kid, but the first time you come to Bournemouth, as soon as you're 17, you can drive, you come over here because there's nothing to do in Swanage. You're hanging around the blue shelter by the arcade causing trouble, basically.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do. You're bored out of your head. But I came to Bournemouth College, and as I said, the boys used to call me Stiffmeister because I just kept going to new classes. I was like the oldest kid in college at one point, I think. I tried civil law, I tried business management, I tried financial planning. I even got a job in Barclays for a year. I worked in Barclays for a year. I tried to do everything because Dad was so desperate to get me out of hospitality and what he grew up in because it's so tough. And I was like, it'd be quite nice to wear a suit to work. So I got a job at Barclays. You know, it'd be quite nice to do this, but none of it was for me, mate. I couldn't give myself to it because it was just wrong. I was trying to fit a square peg for a round hole and it just wasn't working. So I ended up quitting. I've not actually finished one college course. I just kept quitting and then going, I'm not really ready to work yet. I'll start another course. Because, while you're studying, it's kind of all right, morally and for your family so you just keep going back and back. And then I met, one thing I was very, very good at, mate, from a young age, and it's probably down to the upbringing of my dad. I was very confident, and weirdly, because I shouldn't be, because of the upbringing, and I was very good at what's labelled now as networking. So I'm a people person. That's my biggest superpower. I'm very good with people. I'm very good at talking to them, making them feel welcome, making them feel like they can trust me and open up, right? And this is what I did well in Barclays as well with sales, because you're a salesman, you have to gain their trust. People buy from who they trust.
Yeah.
So the quicker you can build that rapport, I did that naturally. I didn't even know I was doing it. It wasn't even labelled as networking then. So I was at college, and a guy approached me called Ilke, who actually still works with us, and said he needed to tap into the college market and he couldn't. Would I be all right giving some flyers out for him for £5 an hour, whatever it was at the time? I was thinking, fuck, I'm new to Bournemouth. No one knows me. Excuse to chat to birds and without being like a creep. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. So I just basically started giving out flyers, then started selling tickets on a commission. Then that worked quite well, and I thought, fucking hell, this is quite good. So that's when I became a promoter. And I basically went to clubs that weren't doing that well, and on certain nights, or they weren't open. And I said, look, why don't you open that night? You take the bar, I'll take the door, I'll book the entertainment, and I'll bring the people. And that's kind of how it started. And I started doing a few of them. I actually used to do it at V.
Was that the first club you went to?
No. The first big one I did was a club called Chili White.
I remember that.
Do you remember?
I don't remember it, but I've heard people talk about Chili White.
I remember that. I think it was a bit before our time.
Yeah.
Slightly.
I think my older brother would tell me about it.
Yeah. So Chili White and Bliss were like the one back in the day. The two big ones past Cameo, where Cameo is now. That was when Cameo was called Elements.
I remember Elements. Used to go to the under-18.
We did a big one there. So we did. Do you remember Mario from The Only Way Is Essex?
Yeah.
No,
I fucking hell. I thought you meant Mario, the guy that was like, "Let me love."
No.
I was like, yeah, I remember. Not The Only Way Is Essex.
He's gone for it. But yeah, I know who you're on about.
The Italian stallion that appeared.
I weren't on it. I'm not on those vibes, but I hear you.
You look like you're in it.
Nah.
So we brought him down as a PA, and we were kind of one of the first to start doing that Z-list television PA thing where you could pay and have a photo. And we took a Friday night at Chili White. Notoriously, they were dead, and it's like holds 1,500 people. This massive club, and we booked this guy, and we've got him to tweet. 'Cause it was Twitter then. We've got him to tweet. Can't wait to come down. And we were called Fly Boys then as well. It's fucking outrageous.
The Fly Boys.
Yeah, but it's spelt with a Z at the end as well.
Oh man,
you've tried hard.
Who's in the crew at this point? The Fly Boys.
It was me and Kerem that were like the two Fly Boys, but we had all the boys with us.
The two Fly Boys
With a Z. Just
oh man, don't.
Shambles.
I've still got the flyboys.time@gmail.com. Hotmail, I think it is.
I rated it. You've got to keep those memorable. You know what I mean?
We took this night on. Everyone's like, it's not going to work. And we, in those days as well, you didn't sell tickets. Like you put posters and flyers up. There was no fucking Eventbrite, so you didn't know what you were selling. You fly, you post, and then it's 10 o'clock and you're waiting outside this club, mate, and you're fucking anxious. Is anyone going to turn up? Is anyone not going to turn up? It's a massive club. It's our first chance of doing a big thing. And then like 10:15, a little group comes. 10:20, a little group comes. And by like 11:15, fucking carnage outside. Queues both sides. People are trying to get in. We're full. Can't do any more. That was like quite a memorable point in the promoting. I was like, fucking hell, this is good. I did V a lot, Fridays and Mondays.
Do you think that was like that night was where you realised at that point, like, yeah, I'm going to a nightclub game?
I don't know if I ever wanted to go into nightclub game as such. I used to banter when I was young with Dad after watching an Al Pacino film called Carlito's Way. And he owns like a nightclub and he's fucking, it's similar to Scarface. Like got some mad
good fella
life.
vibes.
Yeah. Some like gangster. And I was like, Dad, I'm going to be a nightclub owner. He's like, fuck off, son.
You buy into that persona at that point a bit?
A little bit, mate. Yeah, I went for a stage when I was probably 18 to 22 where I thought I was a bit of a gangster. I was on steroids. I was up to no good. And I was getting big and I kind of was trying to create this reputation for myself. But I still think it came from the fitting in element, right? I wanted people to respect me. My dad used to say, son, why are you doing all this? Like, why are you trying to get so big? And I'd be like, Dad, I want fucking people to respect me. I want people to be scared of me. And he used to say, he said it then as well, he said, son, respect that comes from fear is not loyalty. The moment you turn your back, they'll stab you in the back.
Bang on.
And it didn't make sense at the time. I was like, what are you fucking talking about? If they're afraid of me, they ain't going to do nothing. but he's bang on the money.
Yeah, now looking back, you can see that, but in the moment...
Yeah, he said you want respect from loyalty because you're a genuine guy, because you care, because you help people, because you help the community, because you're a good dude. Those people will talk good about you behind your back. Whereas the ones that are afraid of you, they have to stay. You have to keep your foot on their head all the time, and they have to stay a certain level.
Sopranos vibes, mate.
Completely.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm a mongrel, mate. We're Turkish, Kurdish, Armenian, and Sicilian.
It's a hell of a mix, that.
Yeah, mongrel. So my old man's very like that anyway. He's very profound. He talks like in proverbs. He's like an Italian gangster boss. You know, he gets up and talks in English. His English isn't great. He's got a bit of an accent, and it's all real deep quoted shit, which is probably where I get all my quote vibe, like
mafioso style. Yeah.
Well, he's got that vibe about him, and you know, he was in the military in Turkey for years, and then when he was in London, there was periods of time probably when he was mixed up with the wrong people, just trying to find a community to fit in with. For sure. Yeah, so I mean, the promoting thing, I never thought I wanted to own a club. I just thought, fucking, this is good. Like, I'm young. I'm now the cool kid on the block, which is what I wanted. I wanted to be the kiddie. I wanted to be that kid from school because I wanted to fit in. I'm now the kiddie. Phone's blowing up. People follow me on fucking Twitter. That was big then. Yeah. And I can
jacked as well.
And I'm jacked. Jersey Shore had just come out. So I used to call myself The Situation.
What's that? I don't know what that is.
So, you know Geordie Shore?
I know it. I've never.
Before that, there was a program called Jersey Shore.
That's where it stems from.
Right,
the Situation is the guy that's like quite wham, and he wears like V-neck t-shirts.
V-neck tees with blazers. So I was rocking them with your upper chest popping out. And they used to go out and party. They'd like bring girls back and carb up before they got with them. You know, all this kind of bollocks. It was what you guys would know now as fuck boys.
Yeah. Huge show at the time though.
Yeah,
like massive.
I even changed my name on Facebook to Ty the Situation Temel at one point.
You're proper buying into
but it is weird how like when you're like that age, you buy into a persona.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to be the businessman at that age. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I was running a business at that age. So like for me, everything was like, I'm an entrepreneur. I do this. I'm like,
I think that's new, that vibe.
That vibe. And like, I look at it now and I just think like, mate, you're a donut. Like, you know what I mean though, don't you?
I know so.
You just look at it, it's like, you're a clown, mate.
Mate, you mentioned as well, by the way, that you were on the steroids as well back then. What sort of steroids were you taking?
I was fucking on everything because I had no guidance, right? So I presumed, and a lot of youngsters that are probably fucking about a bit that are listening, they think the more you take, the bigger you get.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't work like that. You just do more damage and you don't do fuck all. So I was taking at one stage I was doing Anavar, Dianabol, 2 millitest a week, 2 millitren a week, SD matrix, clenbuterol.
All together?
Together, yeah. And
that's a stack, mate.
And 2 other things, yeah.
That's a hell of a stack.
It's a bit more than a stack.
That's a stack, bro.
Mate, I could run this Hilton hotel down. I was that charged.
You must have been fucking charged, yeah.
Who's advising you for that?
Especially with you running like a nightclub as well. And
this time I didn't have the nightclub.
Oh, really?
So this time I was a promoter, right? So
even more so though, like just
I'm a promoter. I'm a little bit up to no good on the side. So I've got these 2 personas I'm trying to keep up, right? I'm trying to keep up this like ladies man promoter, and I'm trying to keep up don't fuck with me, otherwise I'm going to come through your door persona. So I've got this like 2 things going on. I'm jacked. I've got fucking veins coming out. Like even when I don't know if you've ever done Trenbolone.
I haven't. No.
It's insane, but
rots your brain.
But it's the worst. It's the worst side effects. Like you hold your phone like this for 30 seconds, and your forearms throbbing. The veins are coming out. It's insane.
You get jacked off it though. Like
you do get jacked off it. So what I was doing, I was in this cyclical fucking chaos thing for about 2 years, where I was doing loads of gear, as in steroid gear.
Yeah.
Were you cycling or did you run it throughout?
I just run it non-stop.
Oh, that's hefty,
no PCT, nothing, which is why I'm on TRT now. But anyway, I did that. I would then party, so then take recreational drugs. Then I'd pull a bird, nothing would work. Then I'd be on like Viagra. Then I'd have to take like Valium to sleep because I couldn't sleep because I'm so charged. So like, fucking hell.
That's one hell of a cycle.
It's a cauldron of just fucking raw emotion, isn't it?
So it got to a point where my lower back was hurting a lot, and I fucking had this massive like V back anyway, but my lower back was hurting. In the end, I thought, I'm going to go to the doctors because I'm weeing, it hurts. My wee's a bit of a funny colour, everything's fucked. Went to the GP and they did a blood test and they like panicked. They pretty much sent me to Dorchester straight away, which is the specialist. My kidney and liver function was like over an 80-year-old's. And I'm 20 years old, mate. I look like an Adonis. Like I should be fit. I'm rotting inside because it's fucking just aesthetic.
It's usually the case anyway, though, isn't it?
Nothing is good inside.
Yeah.
And And that was just down to, you know, probably that cycle that I was talking about.
Probably
of
eating shit as well, like after work.
No, I was eating good because when you're on steads, mate, you get away with a bit more murder than anything else. Yeah. So you kind of, you know, I was having boiled turkey and boiled broccoli, plain, you know, might have some brown rice, and I just felt amazing.
Yeah.
I was on this stuff. I felt strong. I was getting stronger every day.
It's weird though, because like when you first start doing steroids and stuff, like that feeling of going on them is addictive as hell. And then like, I remember like my first cycle of Anavar, like granted, like I didn't do a baseline of tests with it. So like I was like 18, amazing. I was like 0% horny, didn't even want to wank, which is mental. And then I looked fucking peeled, and I was like, it's worth it. But it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Mate, I had a girlfriend at the time that I probably owe a fucking apology to be honest, but I just haven't bumped into her. I put her through hell. I've had two. One was her and one's my wife now. They're my two kind of serious relationships. And one of the turning points for me when I was on gear is I couldn't have sex with her. Like I kept going soft, right? Because it doesn't work because I'm fucked. So I've now come off steroids. I've got no baseline of testosterone. My testicles are completely shut down. They're not producing any hormone, any testosterone.
That's mental.
So I'm now crashing hard. I'm training harder and eating cleaner, crashing hard. I'm fucking crying at everything, and I never used to show any emotion. I was an angry guy. Like I watched Titanic and cry. I'd argue with this girl I'm talking about that I was with, and I'd cry, and she'd be like, "What are you crying for now?" Like I just wasn't a crier.
It's the hormones, mate. I've had it. I've had that exact thing where like, for some reason, like you just can't. You can't, like, I'm not a crier either, bro. Like, I didn't cry for a long time, but then you just can't stop crying. And it's like, it's obviously the hormones and stuff, but like there'll be certain things which like are sentimental to you, which don't mean anything to anyone else, and it will make you cry. Yeah. And then like they're like, "Why are you crying?" You're like, "No reason."
I'm actually a big crier now. I'm genuinely a pretty emotional dude. Like, I'm very in touch with my emotions. I'm an empath, and it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because I can relate with people and connect with them on a deep basis, which is what I was saying about Good with Humans. But the curse element of it is I feel other people's pain, which is the curse part, you know, which it's not as, I don't know.
Was it like at that point as well, Ty, when you're coming off the steroids, you're like, you can't have sex with your girlfriend, like that must have been a huge ego check because you've gone from being the boy, like out and about, outlandish, and then all of a sudden, like, you're crying, you can't get hard, mate, which is fucking every lad's like worst nightmare, I'll be honest with you.
Crap.
So like that must have been a big ego check at that point.
It was tough, mate, and obviously like the shift in mentality from the anger to non-anger as well, right? So anything that I had to do that was a bit unsavoury or shout at someone or scream at someone, you can't do because you're worried about their feelings because you've got loads of estrogen and no testosterone. So you're kind of kind. You're being kind to everyone weirdly. Yeah. It was shit. I went to the doctors. I said to you boys on the run this morning, I went to the GP and I said, look, this is what's wrong with me. This is what I've been doing. This is why my kidney and liver's fucked. Like, don't get me wrong, we brought it all round. I'm pretty optimum now. I have a blood test every 6 months. But this lady GP, it's not her fault. She didn't know anything about this. You know, a GP stands for general practitioner. They know a little bit about everything and a lot about nothing.
But antibiotics and a little bit of ibuprofen.
So I sort of said to her, look, I can't. Got erectile dysfunction. I can't. It doesn't work.
That must have been fucking hard.
Mate, I'm
to
21.
Tell that bird.
I'm 21.
Like, it makes it worse because she's it's a woman. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and she literally said, "There's nothing the NHS can do. The only thing we can do is prescribe you Viagra." I said to her, "Okay, like I don't mind going on that for a bit, but what's the end game? Like, there isn't any end game. You just have to take Viagra every time you want to have sex." And I was like, "Lady, I'm 21 years old. Like, I might live for another 60 years." What, you want me to just get on this? And on top of that, the cheek of it, it was £25 per tablet to get it from Boots in those days.
Jesus.
Like prescription Viagra. And I could get it from fucking a local supplement shop up the road for 20 quid for like 100 of them.
Yeah.
And when I told her that, she said, well, I'll give you the prescription, but you might be better off just buying it from your rookie mate because it's so expensive. I just thought, I'm not having this, mate. I spent the next 5 years pretty down, I'll be honest. Like it was a dark period that for me because I was fatigued all the time. I was tired. I had brain fog. I looked really skinny. I looked ill. If you look at some of my throwback photos that I put up on a Thursday, some people are like, oh my God, you've put on so much weight. No, I'm gaunt because I'm unwell. I don't have testosterone, which is what holds mass in a guy. So I was just like, nothing. And then about 7-8 years ago, maybe a bit earlier, I discovered a guy, Dr. Robert Stevens, who was on my first podcast episode, who owns a men's health clinic, who does testosterone replacement therapy. It's private.
Mate, that 5 years,
horrendous.
Like you were promoting at the time as well, right? Like you've kind of got to put on a brave face when you're going through like
promoting, and the first couple of years with my wife.
Right. How does that go down with her then?
You just have to be honest, man.
Yeah.
You just have to be honest.
Because like girls are obviously like super emotional, so like a lot of girls would have seen it on the flip side. Like he's not attracted to me, rather than being like
with my ex.
Right.
She slapped me once because she said, you don't love me no more. And I had to actually get like the fucking pins out of the bin and be like, no, it's not you. Look, it's this. I've been taking this. I'm fucked, sort of thing. But I just had to be honest, mate. I just said, look, this is what's happening. I'm trying to find a solution, but I'm here. So if I'm a bit weird, if I'm not really, my libido is, I've got no libido. So if I'm not really attracted, it's not you. It's the fact that I'm fucked. But I mean, a guy telling a girl, it's not you, it's me.
It's a hard play. It's a tough play, yeah. It is a tough play.
The other interesting thing is, mate, I'm actually more emotional than my wife currently.
Really?
Yeah, I'm much more emotional. She's much stronger than me. I'm like, we'll watch something and like, have you watched Afterlife?
Yeah.
I haven't.
I cry every episode of Afterlife.
Is that because of the hormone replacement therapy and also the stegs at a young age, do you think? Or do you just think that was innate in you and then it's just come out more because you've basically accepted that's what you are?
I think it's a number of things. I think I used to like to think it was because I ruined my hormones. But if I think back now, my dad's very in touch with his emotions. He can talk on a level that most Turkish men wouldn't talk because we're hard, we're tough. That's the culture in the Middle East, and it used to be here years ago as well. It's just kind of leveling out a bit now. So I think seeing him be like that with mum and me, I probably always had it in me. And if anything, the steads masked the other side of me came out, not the real side. And now that because I'm optimum now. I said to you, I've got friends that aren't on TRT and have got higher test levels than me. So my levels sit really healthily now, and I'm really in touch with both sides. I still have a flare deep down, but I keep that flare down through running, through meditating, through practicing what I'm reading to try and kind of never take anything personal, control the controllables, quite that kind of stoic mentality. But it's still in there, mate. That person's still there deep down somewhere.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm the opposite. I don't actually like experience true anger that much. Like I never get rage. Like I don't really get angry. So like if I have, I'm like, this is a fucking weird emotion to have.
You're the most patient guy I know.
Yeah.
His patience can frustrate me because he's that patient with himself. I'm like,
he's that chilled. He's going backwards.
Yeah. Nah, not that. But like I'm patient and like I can like take quite a lot and like it doesn't really faze me.
That's a superpower though, mate.
100, mate, yin and yang, mate.
Yeah.
100%.
It's a superpower to an extent, but then on the flip side, sometimes I think like, am I taking too much? Or like it took me a really long time to learn. So like say for instance, like if people would take the piss a little bit, like I would just be like, I'm mad. But and then it would be like, is there actually a level where like it does matter? Because like I wouldn't know the level. I'd just be like, oh, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect me. But it's like, well, actually, to be fair, at some point, like you've got to like stop that and be like, nah, fuck off.
I would say it's only been in the last 2 years that you've learnt where your line is.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me tell you something, mate.
Sure.
You will live a more peaceful life than him.
100%. Yeah.
And the reason why, and I don't mean that disrespectfully.
No, I get it.
Because if you don't take anything personally, you're so peaceful and happy.
And he is.
because like
he is though. You're right. Yeah.
I try and champion it, and I can't always because, as I said, sometimes the fucking devil's in there. But like, it was meant to be. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. It's powerful. If it was meant to be, it'll be. These fucking cliche sayings, they're powerful.
They're cliche but true.
So I think, oh yeah, no, maybe I wasn't meant to buy that, or maybe I wasn't meant to do that, or maybe it was not meant to be with that business or that person. And that kind of mentality is, you're at peace with the decision.
Yeah.
But because what I noticed is, I used to be very similar to you, for literally till I was probably about 27. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, motherfucker, who's he fucking talking to like that? Yeah. Like, and if I couldn't publicly do anything because I've got an image now, I would hurt them in other ways. You know, I would be like, right, you know, do this, do that, or let's do this, let's do that. And it's like, then it becomes, but all I'm doing, mate, and I say it to my team at the club, stop concentrating on fucking everyone else's, what they're doing. Stop wasting your energy. All we're doing is harnessing all of our energy into that. Keep your head down, work on our own thing. Let them do their own fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I just felt I used all my energy up. What's the word? Spite. Like I used it as revenge. Yeah. Revenge is poison.
Yeah, and it's only going to, like, if you're pouring all of your energy into, like, spite and revenge, like, it's going to come back around. Not necessarily in spite or revenge on the flip, but, like, in different ways. Like, you're going to get negative things happen.
100%. And like...
I get you, though, bro. I've had Locksmith from Rudimental on my podcast, and he talks very similar to you. He was still a fucking angry guy at 35.
Yeah.
Because he was like, why doesn't my dad... Why isn't he around? Why doesn't he love me? Why didn't he? I'm not getting into the deep stuff, but like, it just reminded me of that conversation I had with him.
100%. I wouldn't say I'm like an angry guy. I just mean like when things are muggy, I will be like, that takes a fucking piss, mate. But yeah, I get what you say. And I do try and take a leaf out of your book and
vice versa.
You definitely chill me out a lot, especially when I'm like hot and Cal be like, chill, bro, it's not that deep. And I'm like,
you got to stand up for yourself, don't get me wrong.
100%.
That's probably the line, isn't it?
Like, that's what I mean. Like, us spending so much time together over like the last couple of years through doing the podcast has like, we've almost just like taken a few traits from each other.
For sure, like molded into each other amazing. A little bit. No homo. But yeah, let's pull back. So for like 5 years, like what happens in terms of like the business perspective? Because you move into promotion, do you get a few nights and then a few, how does the clubs come about? Like where's the deal come from?
We get a few nights and the thing is with promotions, mate, like people like used to palm it off. Like what the fuck's a promoter? But the dough in promoting is big if you get it right. Like Eddie Hearn's a promoter.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So like I started doing nights, So we were doing, I don't know, let's say example, Chili White is, let's say 1,000 capacity, or let's say easy, 1,000 capacity. I'm charging £5 for everyone to get in. There's £5,000. In those days, it's all cash. There's no fucking Apple Pay.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's all cash. You got £5,000. I've spent £200 on posters and flyers, and we've given them out ourselves. Spent 250 quid on a DJ and just a load of word of mouth. £4,000 profit. Lovely. Do that 3 nights a week. All in cash, in a shoebox under your bed. It's footballer money.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
True.
Like, all of a sudden, you're like this whatever little promoter kid that everyone's dismissing, but you're fucking banking dough, mate.
Cash
money as well. I don't know what to do with cash. You know, there's that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Like, my old man's never had money, so he doesn't know how to invest wisely. Like, so there's no one at home telling me, son, you've got all this money now, you need to do X, Y, and Z. I just didn't floss. I didn't go and buy a Louis Vuitton belt with my first 500 quid. I put it all together and then got it into the bank or got it into the system and then tried to do what I can. You know, I tried loads of things, mate. I was fucking importing bottled water from Turkey at one stage. I was selling Chinese tablets on eBay at one stage, made a load of dough from that.
Spooky.
Chinese
tablets.
As in iPads.
Oh. Like, fucking hell, what was that?
No, yeah. So like a rip-off of an Android tablet, effectively, rip-off of the iPad. When that first came out, I found a source in Alibaba. It was like $68 delivered to my house, these things. And I was selling for $129.99.
Yeah.
I was doing hundreds of them in the 6 weeks leading up to Christmas. They had Angry Birds on them and shit. And it was like a cheap present to someone, a family that couldn't maybe afford an iPad at 500 quid. So I was always hustling like that. Like everything was about the hustle. Even when I was in the clubs myself as a punter, I'm drinking out of the straw. All my mates were off their nut. And I'm sort of thinking, fucking, they're going for some straws here. Where can I buy these straws to supply them?
Oh, I thought you meant from a perspective of like, fucking hell, they're eating into the margins.
No. But like, where can I sell them the straws, you know? And I've played loads of tricks, mate. There's like when I started wholesaling a bit of disposable packaging. So, you know, your pizza boxes, kebab boxes, because I thought I'm in that industry, I started importing, buying from London, bringing them down here and selling. And I started taking some customers from a big company here. They're still in Ringwood and I still work with them. And I started taking some big customers from them and I was on their radar. So then I thought, right, what I want to do ideally, I don't want to buy from London. It's a pain in the arse for me to drive up there and come back. I want this guy to supply me because he's already based in Bournemouth. But he ain't going to supply me till I'm a big enough threat, right? This is a power play. So what I did is I kept buying from here and selling. I was making no dough. But what I was doing is taking all of his customers. This was the play. So it was only so long I could hold out, but the plan paid off. So it got to a point 3 months in when he called a meeting with me, the owner of this company. I'm a kid. I'm like 20. He's called a meeting and I've sat down and I've said to him, look, you're an English firm predominantly, and I'm selling to all of these kebab shops, takeaways, and none of them, they all deal with me over you. And now I'm starting to get some English firms that are wanting to buy from me because my prices are cheap. I said, but I want to work locally. I like to keep the money local. I don't want it to go out of town. I said, so rather than me buying from this company in London at $6.99 and you're trying to sell it to me at $10.99, why don't you just match their price? Even if you put £1 on it, it saves me driving to London and I'll buy from you. So what effectively happened is I became a middleman. He was that worried about losing his customers. He effectively then was selling to me for me to sell to them. So he was losing his margin.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So that was a plan that we kind of engineered, and it paid off. I didn't realise I was doing it as I'm quite explaining now at the time. This is what I'm saying. So these are the things you do along the way. And then I read the book 48 Laws of Power and I was thinking, fucking hell, yeah. I did that in that scenario without realising I was doing it. I was just thinking, how can I get noticed?
100%. And it's like when you're young, you're just naive. So you don't even know what you're doing. You're just doing something to make a bit of cash.
Yeah. Feels right, doesn't it?
It does,
like, fuck it, I'll go with it.
Yeah.
And we're all like, there's that quote, right, that I champion. Like, the older you get, the more you realise everyone's just fucking winging it.
100%, yeah.
I'm winging it, mate. I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't really, I know pockets of knowledge within my fields, but I don't claim to know it all. I don't claim to be the best. I don't claim.
That's what I hate about people that have been successful in their industry. And then because they've been successful in one field, they feel like their knowledge expands across everything. Yeah. And then they feel like they can give like external advice in regards to situations that they have no experience in because they've got to a certain point in a certain industry. And I rate it, like granted, like take my hat off to you, but like that industry you're now giving advice on is like, it's fucking, there's no correlation whatsoever. And I find that difficult with people that like, kind of try and advise people on everything, if that makes sense.
Also, times have changed, mate. Like, if you look at when I was 18, the societal norm was that someone that's super experienced and very successful in business is a 70, 80-year-old white guy, like Warren Buffett, like Richard Branson. Like, to be successful and to know what you're doing and to be an entrepreneur, you had to be 70, 80, 90 years old and done it your whole life. That's been scrapped now. That's done. You've got 18-year-olds that are equally as wealthy. You've got Ben Francis, Gym King, you're wearing his top. Like an example of someone.
Gymshark.
Gym King. Fucking hell. Gymshark.
I would have got clipped, bro. I couldn't let you do that.
Yeah, no, remove that bit. Sorry, Ben. But like, so what I'm trying to get at is like, in the old days, you would only take advice from an older person, right? It's not like that anymore.
No, 100%.
It's not like that anymore. You can be hyper-focused in your field. You can be 25 and be super knowledgeable. You don't have to be 50. Times have changed, mate. We carry the internet around. Everything you need is at your dispense now. It's here.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
We've got no excuse not to know the answers.
Yeah.
So I don't really buy into that thing anymore. I did buy into it, but that's our ego. Fuck's he going to tell me, a new 19-year-old promoter on the block trying to tell me how to do it? But I need to listen to him because he's more in touch with the market than I am. I'm a 35-year-old man. Like, if I'm booking acts now for Halo, I'm so out of touch, mate. I'm booking stuff that was sweet when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And the students are turning up on a Monday.
And what's this garage stuff?
Who the fuck's this guy? We a few years ago, I got a chance to book Mark Wright, and I was fucking buzzing with it because he was the GOAT when I was like, in that kind of age, and you just couldn't get him. He was too expensive. We booked him for a Monday night and 5 people had a photo of him. None of the students knew who he was.
Yeah.
He's not been in Tower for 10 years. And I just didn't think. I went with my heart as opposed to my head.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is a great booking.
Yeah.
For who? I just wanted a photo of him. And to meet the guy.
100%. But yeah, mate, so obviously we were saying like 5-year stint, promotions, you're flipping, buying and selling, doing X, Y, and Z. Like when does the club first come about then?
The club came about... I was 24, the club came about. So I was a promoter for them. And they had an incident there, if you remember, that made them lose their license. There was an incident where Eden is now.
Yeah.
That was room 2 of V. And there was an incident in there with someone having their face cut.
What, with a knife?
Yeah, with a like a barber's blade. And it kind of got shut down. The license was revoked and all this kind of stuff. And then the opportunity came up for myself and a few others to kind of, we thought, fuck it, we'll chip in here and we'll take it on. So we put a bit of money in and kind of took it on, but we spent 3 months and 80 grand trying to get a license through a court process because obviously it'd been revoked. And where I'm 24 and we were all generally pretty young at the time, the police don't believe that it's really us and they think we're doing it for the guy that owned it before and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So we went through a load of hurdles, and then I think we took it on in Feb 2013. Yeah. And we opened in May. So it was that long to get the license.
Yeah.
May the 4th. I won't forget it. May the 4th. That's the day. Star Wars Day, isn't it? I'm not really in Star Wars.
I have no idea, mate.
Yeah, it's
I'm
not
not really
like
in Star
that.
Wars. All me. My business partner's mad into them. He's a bit of an older nerd. I hope he's listening to this. He's got long hair. He's like 50. He's a dude. 24. That came about.
It's quite a big moment, though.
Yeah, it's a big moment. Man.
Yeah,
it is
like,
a big moment.
What was that feeling like? Because like you've been through quite a lot, you know, emotionally, and you've been promoting, you've been like hustling, doing this, and this, and then you obviously that moment happens.
And it's also like opening a club's pretty bad boy, isn't it? Especially at like 24.
At that age, yeah. But so what I did is I realised I had a natural knack for the marketing promotion side. But to learn a bit, I went, before Halo came about, I went to work at, you know where Camel is now?
Yeah.
Camel, the 6 a.m. place. Next to it, there's a place, I think it's called Bar Republic now. Well, I know it's called Bar Republic now. It used to be called 176 years ago because it's on 176 Old Christchurch Road. And it was another 6 a.m. club. So I actually went to manage that for about 9 months. And that taught me the other side of the bar, ordering stock, rotas, all that kind of shit, dealing with security. That taught me that kind of stuff. And then Halo came about. And I'll be honest, mate, the first year of being at Halo, I just listened because I'm not in any position to put my 2 pence in yet. I don't know anything. I haven't got a fucking clue. I'm 24 years old. I'm swimming with sharks anyway.
Murky waters, isn't it?
Fucking hell is it? Like, you got people coming to the door for extortion. You got people coming saying, we're going to protect the club because you're young, you need to pay us. And then if you don't, there's a few fights in there. There's loads of like the underworld. It's not as bad as it is in London or like other countries where it's horrendous. Like generally in Turkey, nightclubs are mafia run. Like when I go back to Turkey and I say, oh, we have a few clubs, they're like, look at me funny because they think, oh, he's fucking dangerous. It's not like that here, obviously. You can just be a normal dude and own a nightclub.
Yeah.
But in Turkey, it's such a dangerous industry because of kind of all the underworld that comes with it and that loiters around it from you know, human fucking trafficking, prostitution, drugs, you know, all this kind of stuff that's linked heavily with the late night economy in films and in other countries.
All the bad guys got a bar, haven't they?
Yeah.
Do
They've got a bar. In all the films, they've got a bar. They loiter there, do their meetings there. You know, you look at Power, for argument's sake, all this kind of shit. It's normally a front. And historically, it was a big money laundering, hotspot for money laundering, nightclubs were. Because in those days, in cash, you imagine, like, if that club took, let's say, 10 grand a week, and I wanted to say it took 100 grand a week, who's to say it didn't?
Yeah.
As long as I paid the tax on 100 grand, well, you're washing fucking 90 grand a week for it.
Yeah.
So in the old days when it was all cash, when we opened that club, it was probably 90% cash, 10% card. No one used fucking card. You had to get it out, put it in. There was no tap either. There was chip and pin. You know, so it was like long.
Old school.
Yeah, like now, we'll be lucky to get 5% in cash.
Really?
Yeah, mate, it's done. And obviously COVID didn't help because they're trying to make it a cashless society. So now Apple Pay, it's 10 grand limit on Apple Pay. Fuck, you got to carry any money on you anymore.
It's true.
You just tap it, and you don't even know you're spending, mate. It's lethal.
It's awful, mate. It's actually awful.
I don't even look anymore. Like how, like, you know, when you, like, just now we had coffee and breakfast, they go, oh yeah, what are you paying for? This and this. You don't even check anymore. Like you used to, you know, in the old days, you'd have to give money and you'd get change. Whereas people are overspending now. There's a study on it. People are spending more now. There's Apple Pay because you're not looking and you're not having to go, sorry, how much is it? 42. Yeah. Okay. And then try and find 42.
Also, it's not like a physical, like when you're giving away cash, you're actually physically giving away your money.
There's an exchange, isn't there?
There's an exchange. Whereas now electronically, it just doesn't feel like anything.
Everything that like is tech integrated like that is like for promotion of like overspending anyway. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole point of it is accessibility. The fact that it's easier to spend means you're going to spend more. It's like
prime example is Amazon. Like I try and support local where I can, but fucking hell, like I can order something at 9 p.m. It's here at 9 a.m.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
And there's no card details entered. There's no fucking about. You just bang, 2 clicks done.
I know.
Everything's stored.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you compete with that? As
a
local
for the high
store?
street, mate. It's going.
It's true.
It's unfortunate, but like in my opinion, in like 25 years, I'd be very surprised if like the town looked the same. Like genuinely, I think like obviously independents are always going to serve a purpose, coffee shops, hospitality, but like the big brands and stuff, I just can't see it not moving fully digital.
It's hard because I'm a social person, right? So I can't imagine life without human interaction.
Yeah.
I just can't. Like, I fucking hate ordering off from an app. I went to a place locally the other day and it's fucking...
I hate going to the restaurants now and then doing a QR code. I want a bit of service.
I tell you what,
say hello.
You put a
Ask me how my day
service
is.
charge on my bill. You've literally brought food over, not even said hello to me. It's mental.
the worst one is trying to speak to the bank. That gets me every single time when you're speaking to a robot. That fucks me off so much.
What are you speaking to the bank for anyway, bro?
But do you know what I mean?
Dinosaur,
but when you want to get hold of what, like the bank.
I bet you boys are all into that Monzo hype, is it?
Yeah, like challenge.
Yeah.
Like Cal went to the fucking bank the other month or other year, might have been over a year ago now, to get a new credit card, and I was like, mate, you are a dinosaur. Like,
I don't know if that was me, was it?
Yeah,
nah, it was Chad.
It was you.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, you went to go get a new credit card, and you went for a meeting at the bank.
Yeah. Fair. But like,
like, who does that?
But like, I tried to get. I think it was actually trying to apply for a credit card recently. Actually, like a year or so ago, I was like trying to get through, and I was just a robot, and I was like, for fuck's sake, I just want to speak to a human. Like, I just like they don't understand what I'm saying. But like Jack's right, like the death of the high street as well. There are already brands that are like shutting down, like big banks. They're shutting some, like Barclays and Paul's it, I think. Huge.
A lot of banks are shut. Yeah,
they're gone, man.
They're going like robot machine style.
Yeah,
I bank with Barclays, and the one in Bournemouth Town Centre used to have 5 cashiers. It's got one that doesn't want to serve you, and 4 machines, and one Doris walking around to help you, but doesn't really know how anything works. So it's like it's a shit show now.
Tesco for me as well is the staple one, because like we used to work at Tesco when we were younger, and it's just like a sea of self-service and then a couple of checkouts at the end. As well, like London, I went to one of those for the first time. I went to one of those Amazon Fresh stores.
Yeah,
I was just like, this is actually nuts.
Mental. Yeah, it's only going to get worse as well. Well, better, but worse.
I'll be honest. Like I have to have someone. I have to have someone's number. Like, I need to be able to get hold of someone. It can be WhatsApp. I'm not necessarily a phone call kind of guy, but I'm very fortunate with Barclays that I have a personal relationship manager, both my personal accounts and my business account. So I literally just message her. Oh, you couldn't sort this out, could you? Yeah, wicked. So for me, the service is 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But I get it. If I had to go to that branch every day or ring up Mumbai or wherever you're ringing, I honestly would move.
100%.
And I say to her all the time, like, every time you have your review and every time the bank, just tell them I'm only here because of you.
Yeah.
Like, the moment they get rid of this personal relationship manager, I'm gone to another bank. That's the only benefit for me left.
Yeah. But you, the thing is, you run a business, so like they don't need your business, but they want your business. Whereas like the average Joe, they ain't got a fucking chance in hell, right? True. Like, they're not getting any of that attention or personal service because, like, you know, they're literally just doing deposits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But mate, obviously you get the club, murky waters, a lot to learn in the initial year. You take a step back, you listen, you don't really you don't really put your input in too much from what you're saying. How do things pan out?
So I did everything. In the first year, I tried every role. So you got to lead by example.
Security?
No, because I haven't got a badge. But security,
fair.
But I'm not legally with a badge, if you know what I mean. But I tried a bit of everything though. So I would check what the toilet attendants were doing. I would check what the glass collectors were doing. I tried, I did management for a few days. I did, on the bar for a bit, just learning in there 7 days a week, just soaking everything up. And I was very, very fortunate. I had 3 people around me. One's Ilka, one's Gary, and one's Vicky. And these guys are like seasoned pros. They're a bit older than me. They're probably a decade older than me, all of them. They'll hate me for saying that, but yeah. And I was very, very fortunate. They kind of took me under their wing. 2 of them work for us, and Gary was my business partner, who's like 50 now, and I'm 35, to give you an idea. But he's a young 50. He's the one I said had long hair. He's quite cool. So I spent a year almost listening to them, being CC'd in every email, sitting in the manager's meeting, kind of in the background speaking to them and going, what about this? Have you tried this? What about this? But not publicly put it into the whole team, because I'm not in a position yet. I don't know enough. And once mate, you pick things up so quick. If you've got half a brain, do you know what I mean? You can be savvy. So 6-12 months in, I'm thinking, okay. And like, one thing I noticed a lot with it is, guys, out of interest, why do we do that like that? They go, we've always done that. It's like it's the death of business. Blockbusters closed because of it. We've always done that. They won't pivot. And that's one thing I quite enjoy doing. I quite enjoy disrupting. So I've come in and I'm challenging everything, playing devil's advocate. Not because I'm being an awkward fuck. Like I am an awkward fuck anyway, but like, okay, we're placing all the bottles like that. Why? Like, give me one good reason why we're doing it. Because if we did it like X, surely more people would see it and it'd entice them to buy more. No, but we've always done it like that. Every club does it like that. Yeah, but we're not there missing a trick. You know, when you go into Tesco, mate, the amount of psychology, you guys will know more than me, that goes into where they put shit in the aisles. I was reading a thing about it the other day. It's fucking mental.
Where the alcohol's in the furthest aisle from the
aisle end, like the end of the aisles by the till.
Go
like
for everything.
What they go through to decide what goes well. I didn't realise, you know, you go into a fucking supermarket on autopilot, don't you?
Yeah.
You're not even really looking at the shelves.
Yeah.
So what did I need? A fucking bottle of water. This, it's there. Everything's there. And while you're there, you buy that. While you're there, you buy that. And that's kind of what I try to do with that the club and the businesses. Like, I try and live the customer's journey. So if we're going to do a business, do an event, let's say like the Anthony Joshua event we did at the Lighthouse, I do a walk around with the whole team because I want them to think like the customer. If we can understand, same with Halo, the customer arrives at the front, who are they greeted with? What do they get? What service? They step up those stairs, who then greets them? What happens? They go here, what happens? If we can understand, the psychology of the way they're acting, we can influence it. And not influence it in a manipulation kind of narcissistic way, influence it for them to have a better experience,
And make more money, right?
Yeah. Both.
Of course, yeah.
How do we generate more revenue, but how do we give them a better experience? If we've noticed that everyone keeps going and standing here and there's fuck all there's no speaker there, it's a shit experience, but for some reason they're all having in there, how are we dragging them here? Or do we put a speaker there and make sure they're having a good time while they're there?
Yeah.
We don't
little things, innit?
Small.
Yeah.
My attention to detail, I've got a bit of OCD, right? So again, undiagnosed, but I'm very particular at home. Like, everything's a certain way. I've got almost like a weird way of doing things. It has to be done that way. If you go into Halo at night, all the labels are facing forward, all the speed pourers are facing left on the back, all the cans of the labels are facing forward. There has to be certain, like, good business practice.
Yeah, you've got a bit of that actually, haven't you?
Yeah, I do.
So Jack's got a bit of that.
Yeah,
things in line and things facing.
Yeah, I have it with like planning. Like, I want the plan to be like, I need the plan to be all aligned. Like, Cal can go in there and do like different fonts and shit, and that'll proper bug me. Yeah, like little things like that where it wouldn't even touch the sides with you, would it? And I'm like, bro, why is that a different size? Like,
I get stuck on that though. So Tim will send us artwork, who's our like in-house designer, and it will go back 10 times, but you two won't notice why I'm sending it back. It will literally be like, mate, that's a little bit to the left. Why is that? The gap looks a bit weird.
Yeah.
And he's like, mate, no one's going to notice it, but this business practice.
100%. It's all like
how you do anything is how you do everything.
Everything. Standards, mate.
So he's like, that's how I want it. And that's also how I want it.
Sure.
That's the other thing. Like, that's what makes me me. If we're going to do it like everyone else, it doesn't really matter. And we went for a period at the club where every other nightclub up and down the country that I know, when I spoke to them, they were going, mate, anytime we want to do something, we look at what you guys are doing. Like, you guys are pioneering. We're looking at who you're booking. We're looking at what artwork you're doing, the way you're promoting, all this kind of stuff. It's quite nice. Quite a nice feeling to kind of be recognised like that.
Everyone wants a bit of recognition, right?
Of course.
How does
our ego?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And also, like, you want to be at the forefront of the market because, like, who doesn't want to be the best? Well, you want to be number 2. It's like, what's the point? What a weird thing. We heard of someone recently and they were striving for something which wasn't, like, a good level that we both thought. Yeah. And we were just like, what's the point then? Yeah. And he was, like, just because I want to get here and be hit. And we were like, nah, bro, I think you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like, again, playing devil's advocate, it's perception.
Yeah.
Like, what's good for you might not be good for them, you know? Like, and it's our expectations in life. Like, when people talk about happiness, being unhappy is because what our expectation is of how life should behave isn't how it's actually going.
Yeah.
It doesn't meet our expectations, you know. And Mo Gaudat, the happiness doctor dude, he's been on Stephen Bartlett's podcast. He talks about this a lot. It's all about expectations. You know, what do you want from life, and there isn't one right way of doing it. You know, you might think that for you guys, we talked about success earlier. What is success? What does success mean to you two? Because success for one person is 2 private jets and 200 million in the bank. Success for the other person is to do what they want when they want.
Yeah, I get that. I fully get that, and I understand what you're saying, but it's also like, you know the metrics, and you think you know anyway, the point of success for yourself, but then it just continues to grow, right? And
do you though?
I would.
Because every time you climb a mountain,
that's what I'm saying.
There's another mountain.
That's what I'm saying. 100%. So
where does it end?
It doesn't.
It never ended, mate.
It doesn't. That's like why Genghis Khan wanted to take over the world, right? Like, it's not like I'm not content with this continent. I'll take it all. And I think that's just a man thing.
I had a lot of that pre-COVID. I was stuck on this hamster wheel, running round and round.
So at this point, you've got Halo, and you start diving into a few other bits, right? Like Sandfest and...
Yeah, so like, it just made sense. So Halo was like the flagship. We were doing the first 2 years were shit, mate. First 2 years, we took no money out. It was fucked. Like, as in, we're just paying debts and paying and just trying to survive and build it up. And then it just sort of clicked. Everything kind of fell into place. And then it was flying. And it made sense. Like, whatever industry you're in, I always think you should have loads of eggs in different baskets, right? Fingers in pies, as they say. And I'm a big believer of that. And I do that. And I'm multi-industry. I do a lot of things that people don't know about, because I only promote what needs promoting to sell, right? All the other shit just needs my time once a week. I've just lost my trail of thought. This is what I was talking about. My
saying about Halo and like spreading.
So when you're in an industry, I feel like you have the most intel on that industry. You know, so if you're going to invent something, if you're going to create something, if you're going to notice a gap in a market, it's going to be in your industry. You know, if you own a burger shop, you're not going to find a gap in the market in a property management company.
It needs to be synergy, right?
It needs to be in your thing. So we're then sat in Halo, we're going, right, what else can we do? You know, and it makes sense that the next thing after it is either more venues or events. Events work really well. We've now got a base, it's solid. We're collecting loads of data. Data's king. We've got tons of data coming in. So we can reach loads of people sat on our laptop, in our boxes, anywhere in the world now. We're putting events up for sale, hitting an ounce on our ticketing platform, and it's selling out. So we're like, fucking hell, all right, we'll just keep going. And there's two things I wanted to do. One was I felt the beaches were underused in Bournemouth. We're not like Brighton. Our council's a little bit more reserved, a little bit more frightened, I guess, of kind of what that might bring. And I thought, I'm never going to be able to go and create a music festival on the beach, especially in sandbanks, because all the residents are going to moan. And at the time, there was a chap called Johnny Wheeler that had been doing San Polo for he's doing it now, this was our 16th year. So he'd been doing it for 10 years when I kind of joined. And I got Vicky, who'd been running the San Polo for him for 10 years, who was like she's our like finance director. She like keeps me in check, if you know what I mean, because I'm a bit creative and a bit like visionary style. So I like get excited about stuff, and she brings me down to earth and goes, that doesn't work financially. This doesn't work. Doesn't make any money. Yeah. Otherwise, I just do stuff.
She's the old Alfred.
Alfred
to Batman. Yeah,
literally
one of them.
And I said to her, "Look, can you put me in touch with Johnny?" I said, because he's doing Friday and Saturdays a polo, but I noticed every year Sunday the venue's empty, and Monday they take it down. Like, it's an opportunity there. So met with Johnny, chatted to him. I said, "Look, I want to create a music event on the Sunday." I said, "You know, I'll give you whatever your infrastructure costs are, I'll split it into 3, because it's 3 days, and I'll give you a third of it," sort of thing. And kind of, he was like, "Why not?" Because he's winning.
Is it expensive, or like, is it kind of like a 2 birds, 1 stone vibe, because they've already put up the initial money for it?
Yeah, so it made life easier because the infrastructure's already there from San Polo. I'm not starting from scratch. So from a risk element of financial risk, it's lower than it would normally be, and it's a bit more familiar. It's easier with the council. Kind of everything was in place. It was like a tie-in. It was what I would call a low-hanging fruit to an extent.
Yeah.
Still huge risk, because you're trying to put 5,000 people on the beach.
Yeah.
So he said yes. And year one, I remember we were 6 weeks out from San Polo year one. It's 2017. And Ilko tells the story really well. And I was in Marbella on a stag do, just absolutely fucked. I think I was at Ocean Beach or whatever it's called out there now. And he rang me and he calls me Dog. He said, "Dog, are we doing this fucking Sandfest thing or what?" I was like, "Mate, 6 weeks out, like, it's risky. We've booked no lineup. We've got nothing. We've not even released to say we're doing it. Like, nobody knows it exists. And we're 6 weeks out. I wouldn't even run a club night in 6 weeks. You need like 9 months." I was fucking off my head, and I was like, "Yeah, mate, fuck it. It's on." You know, like, I was like, fuck it. I've taken risks my whole life.
Yeah.
If it goes wrong and I lose my shirt at my house, I'll just go back to living with mum and dad and start again. I've been hungry. I've been there. I get it. I know it. fuck it, we're doing it, sort of thing. So he's gone and sat back down with Johnny, said we're doing it. And I've flown home like 2 days later. And now we're like, fuck. So we've done this logo. It was on sand. It was all a bit shitty. If you look at year one's artwork, because it was so rushed. We've launched it. It's obviously gone down like a storm because no one's doing anything. Like no one's done anything similar to it, that big. We booked, who did we book? We booked Faithless, Sister Bliss to headline. You know that Insomnia track?
Yeah.
One of the biggest dance tracks of all time. Booked her, booked Big Nasty and a few other people, like quick people that we could get to relatively cheap money. And like tickets are selling, but they're not selling that well. And we're like, fucking hell, like we're not even at break even yet. Break even was about 3,500 tickets, I think, something like that at the time when we worked it out. And we're about three weeks out, I think.
What happens if you don't break even on this, by the way? Is that the end of Sandfest, or is that like...
You just lose money.
Okay, cool.
So I still have to pay everyone, all the staff, all the suppliers, all the stock.
I mean, in a sense of like year 2, we're done out here. We're not doing this again.
That's our choice.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
we wouldn't have been kicked out, but it would have been our choice.
Yeah.
So we're like 3 weeks, whatever it was, 3 weeks out or something. And then last minute, I rang a friend of mine. I said, listen, I need a favour. Who can you get? And he was like, I'll get you Tiny Temper if you want. I was like, all right, sick. How much? He was like, I'll do a deal at X. I was like, all right, cool. So I drove up to fucking Fulham, met them, met Tiny, did the deal, paid them the money, whatever. This was on the Wednesday of the gig. So the build has started. Don't know if he's going to turn up, right? There's no contract. It's been done for a friend.
You give him a bit of cash, though?
We gave him money, yeah.
So like a deposit or something to come down?
Yeah, I gave him up front.
Oh, all of it?
In full.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's how it works.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so
Jesus.
even with Craig David this year, Craig was 120 grand for an hour.
Fucking hell.
I had to pay Craig
He's that much?
Yeah.
Really?
He's had a comeback, bro. He's
outdated.
He fell off for a while, bro.
No,
I'm not
mate,
going to
he
lie.
never fell off.
Not for you, because you're 35, bro.
He only fell off because of the fucking Eagle dude fucked him up, the Kez thing.
Oh, the Bose
yeah, they
Selector
ruined
guy.
him, mate. Ruined his mental health. He moved to Miami because of it.
Really?
They fucked him.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's never, him as an artist, he's never gone.
Yeah.
He disappeared because he couldn't handle
He's
the fucking...
got bangers, don't
Yeah,
get me
he's big,
wrong.
yeah.
But like, he went ghost for a long time.
But how it works with artists is you book them, you agree, you contract it, and then you pay... on contract signing, you pay 50%, and then you pay 50% a month before. So for me to release Craig David in November last year, I had to pay £60,000.
That's mental.
And I paid him... So from November to July, that money's out there, and I've not got it back. My ticketing platform doesn't give me my money till 7 days after the event.
Right.
So...
Cash flow perspective,
Fuck.
it's mental.
So you're paying all this stuff out, and you're hoping it goes well, and it doesn't get cancelled, because everyone wants their money back, and you've already paid. So the COVID year... We'd sold whatever it was, 5,000 tickets sold out. I've got like 30 grand.
Before we dive into that, let's pull back. So the Tiny Temper, 3 weeks before,
we went and booked him. We released him. Tickets like soared a little bit, but it was so late. We ended up finishing on 3,200 and something tickets.
So it's a little bit of a lost leader, like just
so I lost 29 grand, I think, that year. 24 grand, 29, 24 grand. Money I really couldn't lose, if I'm honest. But
it's actually all right for year one. Like,
very good.
Like,
normally a festival like that would lose 100 grand year one, and you'd build it.
From 6 weeks out, you're like, we've given this a stab, and there's money in this. Yeah.
The only reason that worked well though is because the infrastructure of the Polo. So if I'd have did it stand alone, I probably would have lost more. Because all that time and effort Johnny puts in to put the event together, I didn't have to do that, if you know what I mean. And
how did you feel like when you lost 29 grand? Was it like...
We don't know, do you? So
right.
You don't know till after the event. I don't know. I couldn't tell you now. Where are we now? July 29th, right? Sandfest was 20 days ago, sorry. I can't tell you still what we made because there's still invoices coming in, money being paid, and we do it. So next week I'll be able to tell you what it made. I know it's in the plus because I've been doing it for 6 years.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you it made X.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm waiting because I've got a VAT bill to come out. I've got all this stuff to come out to do a recon. So anyway, so we did this party, this fucking amazing party. It was insane, mate. It was insane. One, because it was new in town, right?
Yeah.
And two, like we actually sat with him and did the deal in the Hilton, so where we're sat now, but downstairs. And then to stand on that stage at the end of it at like 9:30 p.m. The sun's coming down behind the main stage. Sister Bliss is playing Insomnia. You know, I can't get no sleep, and it's fucking going off. And you stood there and you'd like, fucking hell, we've created this. Like this was an idea over a coffee, or over a beer, in my case, in Marbella, and this has created it. Like that fulfillment for me is like no drug, is like nothing I've ever experienced, which is one of the reasons I can't let go of the events game, because it plays to all of my things. Like I'm a short attention span and it keeps you guessing. You know, all these things you do, it's perfect for me. We then did the event, whatever, had the wash up with Johnny, it went really well. And a month later, when we'd done all our working out, we were like, fucking hell, I've paid all this money out. I'm 24, 29 grand
in the red,
light, whatever it was, something like that, 24, 29 grand in the red. Do we do it again? Do we not do it again? Do we do it again? I was thinking, and then I did what you guys did. You know, we only lost 30 grand. It's got fucking potential, this. If we'd have sold, then I sat down and was like, right, if we'd have sold another 1,800 tickets at, let's say we could push it to 30 quid. Because in those days, the tickets were 20 quid as well. They're fucking dough now compared to them.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it as well, everything's gone up. Obviously, the costs have gone up. Can we do another 1,800 tickets? Yeah. If we did, what would the bar take? It might have taken another 20 quid per head at 1,800 people. Yeah, fucking, there's a bit of dough in this.
Yeah.
We'll do it. And then obviously, the rest is kind of history.
And at this point, are you also doing like the event stuff with like bringing certain celebrities to Bournemouth?
Yeah, we're doing that. We're doing the charity boxing shows, doing 4 of them a year at the same time. You know, I've got a few businesses in Swanage. I had an off license at the time. I've got like a restaurant. I got a random shit. I had fingers in all sorts of pies, like other stuff going on as well.
Where's your head at though? Because like it's a lot to be dealing with, right? It sounds like at that point you're spinning too many plates.
I'm always spinning too many plates, and this is something that I'm kind of trying to work on. But I also think that that's where my superpower is. Like the short attention span at school led me to believe that I wasn't good enough. I couldn't do it. You're not right. You know, you're with the special kids in those days, it was called. You know, you're with all this kind of stuff. But it's actually a superpower in business, because I can spin 10 plates, give each one 110% focus for a short period of time, laser focus, but for a short period of time, and not flap. You give most people 2 jobs and they're fucking all over the place. They're flapping. Can you do that while you're doing that? They can't do it. I can stay calm. This is where the calmness comes in. Like whether I get angry or don't get angry, the outcome's the same. So I quickly realised, right, stay calm, stay focused, we'll find a way out of this. And just think. I think a lot. That's my thing. It is a negative, because sometimes I think a problem that isn't there. I'm a chronic overthinker.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm
a problem solver. Like, I always say to people, what do you do? I don't like the word entrepreneur. I think it's thrown around too much. But I'm a problem solver. That's all I do. I fight fire all day. So there's problems in all the businesses, and I get turned to find a solution for those problems. I can't find a solution if I'm not calm and level-headed, if I'm not still in my brain.
Yeah, but that comes from experience, right? Because like, for example, the fact that like you had to mold into other groups at a young age, the fact that you then, you know, at 16, 17 went into like college and you went into every single class, and then after that you were, you know, involved in whatever you were involved in, trying to manage this whilst managing this, whilst honing in on the hormones, whilst trying to figure that, like, it's just XP, mate. Yeah. So like you're calm in those situations because you're like, I've fucking been here before. I'll get out of this.
Yeah, I guess so. When I look back now, I guess experience. Experience is one thing, mate, and the other really important thing is the people around you. That's super important.
Yeah,
like
you need a good team.
Good team, them leveling you. I'm super fortunate, and I talked about Vicky, but I mention her again. She's fucking literally like my shadow in terms of, if I don't spot something, she's on it. If like all this kind of stuff, you just can't do it. Like I don't have to go to the club ever at night. I can't remember the last time I went at night, because the team are phenomenal and the systems are phenomenal.
Processes.
Yes. Processes and systems. James Clear. This guy's a god. Atomic Habits. Yeah. You spoke about earlier, 1%. The 1% gains every day, they amount to a huge, enormous change after time. Yeah. That's all it is with all of them now. I don't ever claim to know everything. I can't. You can't know everything.
It's impossible.
You pick what you're good at, one, or you pick what you enjoy. So they're the 2 things I look at, and they're the things I spend all my time in. I love programming a lineup. I love coming up with a strategy for marketing. I love doing the social stuff like this. That's what I enjoy. So I do it.
Face of the brand.
Yes. So what I don't like is day-to-day managing. I'm not very good at it because I don't really have the patience for it, and my brain, as I said, doesn't think. So what I do is I hire someone that's better than me at doing that job, and I don't micromanage.
Standard.
Because otherwise, like if you keep coming to me with a problem and you're on 50, 60, 70 bags a year and you've got all this experience, fuck, you might as well leave. I'll do the job then.
Yeah.
If I've got to still give you the answers, don't get me wrong, I don't mean the initial period.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to micromanage you.
I think micromanaging is the most detrimental thing, like when it comes to like someone's growth and development. I just think it's so backwards. It's like you're telling that person to do X, Y, and Z rather than showing them how to do it and continuously on their back. It's just like...
And the punishment piece, right? So historically, if, say, you two were our managers or our promoters at Halo, you would be scared to come up with a new idea or try something new, because if it lost money, you'd have a disciplinary. And this is with all sorts of work. Who the fuck comes up with this shit?
Oh, it's mental.
Because the moment we took that away from our team, and the moment we said, as long as you've given it your all and it still hasn't worked, it hasn't worked together. It hasn't worked for all of us. We're all one. We learn from it, we move on. There's none of this, you're a fucking idiot, this was your idea. You're sort of blocking people from trying.
It's stupid as well. It's just like what you expect this person to innovate whilst they're in a box. It's just like, it's backwards.
All innovation is met with resistance. If you look at history, everything that we use now, including that fucking iPhone in front of me, that was a shit idea at some point, was an idea that the whole of the public and society were like, fucking, that guy's a nutter. Yeah. That guy's not normal. You know, we're talking about Joe, the guy on my podcast. There's things he said that, you know, they're outlandish, you know, extreme views, and the delivery might not be right, but there's things he said that in 20 years might now be the norm. But he's being outed at the moment for thinking that way. Yeah. Tate is another one of those.
100%.
Peterson was another one of those.
Yeah.
You know, even if you go back to Einstein and these people, they didn't just
Nikola Tesla, yeah.
They don't create these things and suddenly society goes, change requires discomfort.
Yeah.
Change requires discomfort. There's no change. There's no growth in comfort. There isn't.
100%. And like, society is just establishing norms. So like any change, you know, which is detrimental to that, people get weird about. It's like Tate, he is the perfect example. Like the way he positions things and puts things forward, like the mainstream narrative doesn't like it. But in reality, like what he's saying is quite logical. Yeah. Like you're depressed, like you want to label it. Why don't you just try training? Why don't you just try eating clean? Why don't you try getting your sleep right? And then in 3 months' time, if you feel the same, maybe you got something wrong with you. If you don't, probably just a state. Yeah. And it's like, how can anyone argue that?
I'm not a massive fan of his, not Tate, the guy I'm about to speak about, Piers Morgan. I don't always agree with his sort of opinions. However, I've saw a video of TikTok, I recorded it the other day, I'm going to post it, and he talks about that, and he talks about that we need to normalize struggles in life. He said, like, there's a big, and I'm an ambassador for a mental health charity, by the way. You know, like I'm really in tune with this stuff. I've done training and I do a lot of it, and I do a lot of fundraising and awareness for them and talking for them. There's a difference between mental illness and mental health.
Huge.
Yeah. So he's saying, like, breaking up with your girlfriend, losing a loved one, having some trouble at work, day-to-day struggles of life is what makes us human, and it's what makes life beautiful. Yeah. These things shouldn't be labelled as mental illness. Mental illness, he said, along the lines of, you know, suicidal tendencies, depression, you know, these bipolar, these things are actual illnesses and they need to be dealt with by professionals.
I've seen this clip.
You know the clip I'm talking about.
It's
about 2 minutes
on.
Long.
Yeah.
I think it might be from Bartlett's
podcast.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
And I couldn't agree with him more.
100%.
Like, the word is outdated. You know, struggle is good, mate. Struggle makes life beautiful. Struggle gives you growth. Struggle, you know, all of this stuff. I think about everything I've been through, my dad's been through, or you guys have been through, and everything we've done in life that's good has come from struggle.
Yeah. Also, you can't appreciate things if you haven't had the struggle.
Yeah,
if you haven't been through tough times, you can't appreciate the good times. It's impossible.
You're bang on. Also, like, I feel like with the mental health stuff, it's gone too far that way. Yeah, so now there's like recall, if that makes sense, where like people are labeling stuff which in reality shouldn't be labeled that way. And if they just, you know, kind of got through it, they'd realize it wasn't that. And through labeling it, it makes it significantly worse for themselves.
Yeah. Also, it's like like Piers Morgan, but I think he might have like said it on that podcast that there's like a merge between the mental health, mental illness now. Yeah. Because they've merged, it's like it's hard to like differentiate each other, and also like you're discrediting people who actually have a mental illness.
Yeah, and we've all felt low, right? It doesn't mean you're depressed. Like, so there's a fucking big difference between being clinically depressed, which some people are, and feeling low.
Paul Moore was on my podcast he's the last guest I had, and he said something that I've never been heard put into that position, and it fucking really resonated for me. He said, if everything is yin and yang in the world, 50-50, give and take, you know, positive and negative charges, He said, then by definition, we should only be positive 50% of the time. But what happens is the moment you feel a bit negative, you think there's something wrong with you. But it's completely normal. 50% of your day should be positive. The other 50% should be negative. That's how the world works. Everything around us is a positive and a negative charge. Yeah. That's the reality. And when he said it like that, I thought, fucking hell, he's right. So we can have a down day and there's nothing wrong with you.
100%.
Could be anything. Could be something you ate. Could be the way you slept. You could just be having a shit day.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. You don't need to, you know, the fundamentals, as you said, food, drink, you know, exercise, outdoors, sunshine, sleep, all these things. You get those things right first, then come back and tell me if there's a problem.
100%. And like 9 times out of 10, like get those things right in 3 months' time, you're going to get momentum.
You won't come back. You won't come back with a problem.
100%.
If you're working in a job you hate Monday to Friday and then going out Saturday and Sunday and getting off your nut on fucking powder because you're trying to numb yourself, and then you're going through that cyclical thing round and round, you're never going to feel good. You're going to feel down.
Yeah, no wonder by the time Thursday comes around, you're like, oh, fuck me, I feel a bit normal. And you go out for drinks on Friday, you're just in literally a whirlpool of negativity and anxiety and all those negative emotions.
And I'm not judging those people, don't get me wrong. Oh, no, I've lived that, I've been there. I don't mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm saying then don't come and say, I feel like X.
I hate it when people moan about being unhappy about circumstances and then have a victim's mentality and blame it on external factors when in reality their actions are actually what is making them feel like that. Yeah. I'm like, what, you feel negative, you feel depressed, but you're going out on a Friday, Saturday, and then like you're eating shit on a Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday you're not training, and then like you're going through the same cycle, yet you're moaning about other people. It's just like, mate, just pull your shit together. Like,
I read something the other day. It said, if you don't like where you are, move. You're not a fucking tree.
Yeah. 100%, mate.
Yeah. I read that before. I'll save that. Actually. I'm going to post it at some point.
Bro, obviously, look, like Samfest first year, very, very insightful in terms of the opportunity. Is it COVID then comes about after that? Or is it the year after?
That was 17. Then we did 18, we did 19. 20 was COVID.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So like the momentum comes from it.
The momentum carried on growing, mate. Yeah. Like 19 we sold out. We had Chasing Status headlining. It's our biggest year. And the next year after that, we were like, here we go. We're going to extend the license. We're going to make it bigger. We're going to go bigger. And then obviously, bang. We sold out. Couldn't do the July date because of COVID. Moved it to September. Couldn't do the September date because of COVID. Moved it to 21 July. Couldn't do it because of COVID. Then moved it to 21 September. And ended up doing it a beach party in the middle of fucking winter.
Yeah.
That must have been massive, that 18 months, for instance, because not only is Samfest, you know, detriment, is also the club as well.
Yeah, the only other industry I can think of that was hit probably slightly harder than entertainment was travel.
Yeah.
Like they're like the two that were hit the worst. Yeah. So how do you guys like get through that? Because it must be fucking tight from your perspective at that point.
Yeah, mate, it was very tough. Like, and I think I said earlier, the hardest thing for me was the fear of having to let staff go. It's that fear. That was what was giving me sleepless nights. I'll be honest, I couldn't give a fuck about the big utility companies or even HMRC and all these guys that will always be okay. But it's the small people, you know, it's the staff. I was worried about them. How are they going to pay their rent? How are we going to feed them? We've got no money. We're shut. By then, furlough hadn't come out. And I did quite a lot of lobbying for the late night economy. I don't know if you guys remember seeing it.
I saw you on TV, bro.
Yeah.
So it's a bit mental, right? Is it like ITV or something?
Yeah. So I basically, I waited, mate, patiently, right? Kind of similar to what you are like. I waited. 6 months of COVID now, of lockdowns, and there's not even a single mention of the word nightclub in anyone's mouth. Not in Matt Hancock's, not in any politicians. They're not even saying nightclub. Like, let alone saying, oh, we're going to get round to nightclubs. They're not even mentioning it as if it doesn't exist. And then they're mentioning theatres because that's what the elite do. The elite, they forget that nightclubs is, you know, a real social element and what it creates for the community. They just think of what they use. So in the end, I thought enough is enough. And I did a video on Instagram. I filmed myself. It was must have been about 8 minutes long, walking through the club and talking about all the knock-on effects of what the nighttime economy does. So all the haircuts that aren't being done, all the clothes that aren't being bought, the tattoos that aren't being, the gyms that aren't being going to, the restaurants that aren't being used, the hotels that aren't being used, the taxis that aren't being used.
It's mental when you think about that because like the it's got the perfect analogy for me is like tip of the iceberg. Like the stuff that comes under like social and entertainment, like I didn't even think about trims.
Neither did I.
Like,
Mate, it's just a nightclub we were getting. But if you think of all those things I said, then that doesn't even include how many people have met their partners in a nightclub, first, their friends. The other thing is the safety blanket we used to provide around town, right? So the police are under-resourced. Police can't put loads of people in town. And we're seeing how fucked it is at the moment. Awful, stabbing every other day.
Yeah.
But let's say they were really under-resourced then as well. So what happens is the 10 nightclubs in any city centre, it's the same. The doorman, the security of those clubs, keep an eye on the town late night for the police. They're on a 501 radio system. They can radio straight into the control room and go, keep an eye on this. We've got an incident here. So we are a blanket of security for the public at night. So you close all of us, and it was like fucking Wild Wild West. Yeah. The garden was mental. The gardens, you remember the beaches? People it was carnage.
It was.
Because there's no one to manage it. So all these knock-on effects. I did this long video, and it went viral. It like went mental. It just, everyone was sharing it. People were tagging the council. Even the council leaders commented on my Instagram posts because they've been tagged so much, saying, Ty, we're on it. We'll inbox you. And some of them were actually inboxing me. One of them got my number, WhatsApp me, saying, mate, like not mate, but like Ty, we're on it. We're coming up with a rescue plan for the late night economy. Don't worry, we're on it. But I felt that was them to stop me talking because I was getting momentum. So I was thinking, I'm just going to carry on till I've seen the rescue plan, like what they're offering. So I carried on, but obviously it naturally got picked up by, so I did ITV, I did BBC News, I did, what was the other one? Politics Today. So that was a mad experience. Like,
Politics Today.
Like, think about what I said earlier in the podcast. So the little brown immigrant kid from Swanage is now on a live show with 4 or 5 white politicians talking about the economy. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, Mum, I made it. Not that it's like, it doesn't give me any money value, but I was like, how the fuck have I ended up on this show? Like, I've not studied. I know nothing about politics.
It's because you're a real person, though. Yeah. Like those.
I had influence. I got influence, mate. I got a lot of influence within the 18 to 30 market. That's always been kind of my. I've got a lot of data and a lot of influence. I put all the stuff on around the town for those people, and people listen. And I'm pretty genuine on there. Like, I wouldn't say to someone, go and eat in this restaurant. I wouldn't sell my soul for money. So there's a lot of people that go, oh, can you post about us and we'll give you a free meal? No, I need to come and eat the meal first. If the meal's good, I will post. I don't need your free meal. I'll pay for it, but it's got to be real. It's got to be. So now what's happened is I've got quite an authentic following in terms of, I've got 5,000 fake followers, by the way.
You buy them?
No, I didn't buy them, but there was a period when you could get bots that were following and unfollowing. Do you know why? Do you remember when you could do the swipe up if you had 10,000 followers?
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah.
They obviously got rid of it. At that period, my mate was like, mate, we'll get you. It's the fucking worst thing I ever did. Don't do it if you're thinking about doing it.
Ruins engagement.
So it took me then. So now I'm just hit 19.1 thousand followers. So I've still got those 5,000. I might have dropped to 3,000 bots now because Instagram does clean them.
Yeah.
But it took me so long to get the engagement back up.
100%. Yeah.
So long. What was I saying a minute ago?
You're talking about how you went on Politics Today.
So I kind of did all of that stuff, and then they brought out the furlough scheme came out, not because of us, but it came out. So I thought, right, my biggest stress is done. The staff are going to get paid. That's the most important thing.
At that point, had you just been using like cash reserves to pay their wages?
Yeah, we've been paying them. Yeah, but we don't have any, right? Because we shut. I don't know if you remember. We shut January the 1st, 2020, and we spent 480 grand and did a refit. Did Halo 2.0.
Yes, I remember.
Worst timing ever.
Yeah, so all of our cash reserve we spent, and we borrowed 180 grand from a bridging loan company to finish the refit because we went way over budget. We opened first weekend, second weekend in Feb. We opened for 4 weekends, and then we were shut.
How do you pay the staff then?
Well, what I'm saying, very, very difficult.
Okay. Yeah,
so we didn't pay a lot of stuff. We didn't pay any rent. We couldn't pay anything. We just paid the staff with the little money we had. It was very tough. Then furlough came out, and so I'm still lobbying now, lobbying. I'm talking on behalf. At this point now, we've set up a group called the Guest List, which is for all the nightclubs in the town, and I'm the spokesperson for it. So I'm trying my hardest to get some, and similar to what you said in the beginning, I need a focus, right? I'm a guy that's very highly driven. I need something. And when I lost, all the businesses were shut. I had to find something. So I actually discovered running then. That's when I started running, March 2020.
You started doing with Ben and Jamie, didn't you?
All the charity challenges. And the other thing was the lobbying. That was like my ounce of flesh. Like that was like my blood. That I was like, right, this is what I'm trying to achieve. How do I get there? And then in January 2021, they released that they were going to do a nighttime economy grant, and it was you could get up to 25 grand depending on your rates bill. And we spent so there's no venue in England. Let me give you a bit of background. There's no venue in England that's a nightclub that's registered as a nightclub. Nightclubs in our planning system doesn't exist. So we're all restaurants with a late night venue or a bar with a late night license. Sorry, so we're registered as a restaurant. I think Lost was registered as a bar. So none of us were clubs because clubs don't exist in our planning. It needs a reform. So what happened then? They brought this grant out, going, there you go, Ty, we've helped you out. You can have up to 25 grand depending on your rates bill. Then guess what happened when we applied for it through BCP? They declined us because we're registered as a restaurant.
Oh, just like
typical, mate.
So then we sort of battled with that and I think we ended up getting the money in February, March. So 1 year from the first lockdown before we had any money. And the money we got was 25 grand. And our rent is 20 grand a month.
Mental.
That's just the rent.
Then.
So it doesn't touch the sides, yeah. So then we opened, if you remember, in 21 as we had to play all the loopholes. So you remember you could open if you're a pub serving food. So we bought a load of tables and chairs.
I remember that.
From Simon Brooks, like white shit chairs and tables. And then we were giving free pizza to be able to open. So we just bent the rules as far as we could without breaking them. Yeah. We were like, right, well, we're now a pub. We now open at 6 p.m. We now give free pizza to anyone that books a table.
What a scam it was. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, what a fucking stupid like rule system they had. Like, you could go to like a restaurant and you'd have to wear a mask, but as soon as you ate your food, you could take it off, and then like you'd have to put it on to go to the like. Who came up with that? Like, who pulled those rules together? Like, they were just illogical. Yeah, like there was no fucking reason behind any of it. It's just like, I look back at it now and like, look, you know, a lot of people sugarcoat it and, you know, they don't say too much about it, but like, I've got to the point now where like, I'm just like, it was fucking stupid. Like, there's no arguing it.
It's how much we obeyed.
It's mental, mate.
That actually frightens me. I didn't really realise that. I had a catch-up dinner with Zubi when he was in England the other week, and he was very pro, not anti-COVID, but anti-mandating and anti-masks and all that kind of stuff. Not even anti, actually, because that's unfair to him. He was just pro-choice.
Yeah.
And just anti-mandating. And, you know, like, if you think they told us you're allowed out of the house for 1 hour.
Yeah. And,
like, me and my missus would leave our home and walk around the block, crossing the road if we saw a neighbour. It kills me, because I chat to everyone. Yeah. I'm like, hey, how are you? How's your day? The dog looks nice. Crossing the road, like, oh, don't go near them. It's like the Black Plague or whatever it was when we taught in school.
I was a rule breaker, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And like,
I only did it for about 2 weeks, and then I was like, this is fucking ridiculous.
I wouldn't wear a mask, and people would be like, you're a tough guy, and I'd be like, no, I'm not. I just like, I'm 25 and I'm sweet. Like, do you know what I mean? I've got no issues. Like, it's just mental how far it went. And in the Karens as well. Yeah. The Karens that came out, like,
I had one at Tesco, mate.
Zero experience with anything medical, yet they were telling me what to do. I was like,
and they're like, I remember I had one in Tesco, like, I didn't have a mask when I walked out. And then this lady genuinely turned around and said, you're killing people.
Mate, the COVID thing, we could do another 2 hours on it.
Yeah,
the COVID thing for me, like, obviously, it's really tough because you don't want to sound insensitive to the lives lost, and some people very close to me lost their lives. You know, I'm sceptical whether it was from COVID or of COVID, because they were obviously grading it differently.
Yeah.
If you, in the UK, I don't know if you knew, but basically if you had COVID in the last 30 days and then hit by a bus, they still put COVID on your death certificate.
Mental.
So the numbers look worse than they were. But I mean, the whole thing... Yeah, I don't want to really get into it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
for another 2 hours.
100%. But yeah, so obviously
it was mental.
It was mental.
I mean, the David Icke thing's mental because I used to listen to him quite a lot, but he just went too heavy for me on the lizard, reptilian, shapeshifters thing.
That actually killed his reputation off as well, because people were like taking.
A lot of the shit he was saying for me is bang on the money.
It was 100%. So on the money, and like him saying that, which was true. As soon as he did the whole lizard thing, it was like he just demolished his reputation. Everyone's just like,
he was like saying the Queen's a reptile, shapeshifter, and
yeah,
like that. I was just like, meh. I'm a rational thinker, right? I'm a logical person, so. And this is why there's some of the things I struggled with Joe. You know, if I hold this bar and let it go, if you said to me it's going to hit the ceiling, I can't rationalise that in my mind, because all of my experiences in the 35 years I've been on the planet is it's going to hit the floor.
Yeah.
And that's effectively what some of these theories are trying to get you to accept.
But 80% of it's right, and then the 20% is just too far-fetched. Like,
and then that 20% gets played on. That the 80% is obviously a lie because of
David Icke talked about a cashless society like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So like he was on the money with like a lot of the stuff, but I reckon he probably just got caught up with, you know, some of it too deeply, where he's like, the Queen's a lizard. But mate, obviously, like, you get through COVID, right?
Yeah.
Then like, what kind of pans out straight after that?
I'm trying to think.
Is this where you open Rise?
Yeah. So COVID, I kind of rediscovered. So pre-COVID, I was, as I said to you, I was on a hamster wheel chasing the money because I thought the money was going to bring me happiness, and I wanted lots and lots of it. Post-COVID or during COVID, because of that stillness, so the drive in me was gone. So I struggle if everyone else is open and I'm shut, because I feel like I'm falling behind. That's where I struggled. So COVID, actually, the lockdown element was really peaceful for me, weirdly, because I'm no longer stressed, because it's not that I'm shut and Cameo and Lost and Aruba are open. We're all shut. Yeah. No one's getting ahead. So I could fully switch off. Phone stopped ringing, no problems, no emails. It was a lovely period. And I discovered my love for the outdoors again. Because when I grew up in Swanage, I did a lot. I did mountain biking, I skateboarded, I told you, I played tennis, I went wakeboarding quite a lot. So I did a lot. I was quite an outdoorsy guy. And I lost all of that, and I just tried to make money. And I rediscovered it. Myself, Ben and Jamie then started doing the kind of June 500, the charity challenges to raise money for Dorset Mine, that kind of stuff. But it was more, if I'm honest, for us. It was for us, and it just became massive. It was a challenge that us three wanted to do, and we put it out there, and 150 people joined up and did it with us, because they're also fucking bored at home. Yeah. Got fuck all to do. So I only started running in March 2020, and I tried to do do you remember the 5K, couch to 5K? Everyone used to like tag their mates on their hand. Yeah. Went out, ran 2K, come home basically in tears with shin splints, saying to my missus, fucking hell, this is horrible, this running shit.
What, 2K?
It literally could run 2K really? Now. I was 104 kilo, like just into bodybuilding. Yeah. Never really done any functional training. And then...
What'd you do it for? About 8 minutes or something? What? Is that a little 8-minute run or something? 10-minute run?
That's a rest. The 8-minute run would mean 4-minute Ks. Mate, I was about 8-minute Ks. It was about a 20-minute run. Genuinely, 20 minutes. But this is how determined I am, right? So within 6 weeks of that, we ran our first marathon. Myself, Ben and Jamie. So like, then I discovered the love. So okay, fine. I did that. And I spent most of my days running in the morning, going in the sea, having coffee, socialising. Running, going in the sea, having coffee, socialising. We turned Halo into some weird gym. We were like doing pull-ups off the fucking lighting rig. We got two of the barriers that you guys might see outside, and we're using as a dip bar.
Rocky style.
Yeah, literally. It was wicked, nice. Mate. It's just like 5-6 of our mates, you know, breaking all the lockdown rules, but kind of in our head, we were like, look, it's for our mental health, it's for our physical health, we need something, we need an escape. We can't just sit at home. People are going to start fucking going mental. And that's kind of where the idea of Rise come about, because we were like, well, Jamie's obviously always been in the fitness industry and wanted to open his own gym. And myself and Ben are kind of business people and love coffee, love socialising, fell in love with exercise. And we were like, fucking hell, like at our age, you don't go out every Saturday anymore, but coffee shops are your new pubs, coffee shops, gyms, fitness classes. This is like your new social, down the beach for a walk with your dog or a cycle, whatever, a swim. So we thought we'll put something together, and we looked, and kind of like that One Rebel Barry's boot camp vibe. There wasn't any of it outside the M25. There wasn't any of it down here. And that's kind of where the concept grew. So obviously we had the coffee shop in the front, the classes in the back, and the gym upstairs. Myself, Ben and Jamie come up with a concept. Ben kind of stepped away from it due to some other issues quite early on, like not even halfway through the build. And then kind of myself and Jamie went on then to find other investors. And other people, a guy called Joe, local guy, he came in and sort of helped us out and put some money in, and we kind of got it open. We opened it at the worst time going, if I'm honest. For a number of reasons. One, I think we were really early for Bournemouth, because everything that works in London needs 5 years before it works in Bournemouth. I've tried so many concepts where I've nicked them from London, brought them here. People don't understand it. Yeah. So we opened it, and people were like, where's the swimming pool? And I was like, it's not a leisure centre, it's just a lifestyle gym. Like, it's for people that are actually into training.
Boutique.
Yeah, boutique. Yeah. You know, they're massive in London. The other thing was the uncertainty of income, you know, people not spending a lot, not coming into town centre. And then our whole business plan was based on 3 major elements. One element was retail, one element was corporate, and one element was like young professional, but not young professional, sorry, like kind of people that aren't working, that train a lot. They're the 3 elements of the pie. obviously all the offices, no one was at office, were they?
Oh yeah.
My missus worked for LV at the time, and there are 2,500 people working from home. So that massive chunk of the pizza, like the slice, 33% of what we thought would be our revenue, people that would come in, similar to what you were, Jack, like would come in the morning, do a class train, have a shower, grab an acai bowl and go to work.
Yeah, that's literally me. Yeah,
or come in on their lunch break. So you were the prime example of that. We just needed loads of you. You know what I mean? But there wasn't any because no one was working in town. Second thing, retail's fucked because no one's coming into town, no one's working, the shops are shut.
Yeah.
And all it left us with was like kind of wags and people with disposable income and some self-employed people that had the time to come in a day. It just didn't go to plan, mate. And we ended up closing that in November last year.
The CAF was always flying.
Yeah, CAF was busy, mate.
It was flying.
CAF was busy, but it wasn't generating enough to cover the other two areas.
Right.
As a standalone CAF, I wish we could have shut it off. It was fucking killing it. There's nowhere in Bournemouth Town Centre that does that. Like, you've got to go to Boscanova, you've got to go to Westbourne, you've got to go to Coast, you've got to go to these places that are a little bit out, you know, like your Ounces and this. Yeah. None of them are here. So if you work in town, where can you walk and get that food?
Mate, you can't.
You still can't.
Yeah.
You still can't. And we've been shut since November and now we're in July. You still can't.
We were saying before when we were going for the run, like, mate, the other day we were like, we need a protein shake.
Where'd you go?
You can't get one. The closest thing is a Kai.
Yeah.
And their protein shake's decent, to be fair.
Yeah, so those guys popped up after, but they're doing really well. Those kind of places are really good. And Fico, is it, in town?
Fika, I think that's next to it.
Yeah, those guys do a really good coffee.
Yeah.
Really good coffee. So there is some small independents that are doing really well. I'm not saying there isn't anyone, don't get me wrong, but not what we were trying to create there.
Yeah.
What's it like, obviously, having to close it? Because, like, you've kind of created a persona around it after doing the challenges and everything associated with it, if that makes sense.
Mate, it was a new experience for me. It was a new experience for me. We lost about £800,000.
It's mental money, mate.
Fucking lot of money.
Money that we didn't have, money that we borrowed, money that we begged for, money that we put everything into it, live sold. Do you know what I mean? And it kind of, it was hard, mate. It was, I don't know how to describe it, because you're in a few different modes. You're in this mode where your phone's in airplane mode and you don't want anyone to ring you because you can't be asked to explain the story again. And everyone you see only asks about that.
Yeah.
And they're not for no point of malice, just because they're interested. Some of them are just fucking nosy. They want to see you fail.
Some of them are that.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And then there's the element where you're like, well, we're alive, we're healthy, we're happy. We've got no one trying to kill us. We've got no immediate threat to life. Yeah, we owe some people some money, but they're just going to have to be patient. Like, it's not like I'm sailing off into the sunset with suitcases of money.
Yeah.
I've not tucked anyone. Like, I've physically lost the dough.
The thing is as well, like, when you're in that situation and you put everything into it, those people are usually like understanding, because they're like, fucking hell, like, just give it a go.
Yeah.
It's not like you were like...
And what we do, mate, I've done it every time. So I once opened a place called Orange Rooms and that went under as well. So what I do every time is I reach out to all the small suppliers, not utilities or HMRC, and I say, look, we're going to probably be closed in the next month. I just want you to know, if you get anything from the liquidators, don't panic. We're going to honour the debt.
Yeah.
So myself and Jamie have paid back every single supplier that owed us. We put them on payment plans, don't get me wrong. We said, look, we might owe you fucking $2,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is. We can afford to pay you £500 a month, but we'll pay you it. And we don't legally have to, because the company's gone under.
Because of the liquidation.
So legally, we can go see you later.
Yeah.
But the problem I've got is I've got 10 other businesses in town in Swanage.
Yeah.
And they're all the same suppliers. And I want to walk through town with my head held high, mate. I want to be proud. I want to be genuine, like my dad said in the beginning. I want to be known as someone that they can trust, they can rely on. You know, like that. You know, I'm not a bad person. I'm not trying to tuck anyone on purpose. It's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's business, right? Like, that's the whole point of a limited company.
Exactly
limit liability.
That. Exactly that. And then the system needs change, if anything, not the people really, because the system's flawed. But what did come of it, I'm a strong believer of there's good from everything. What good did come of it is, before we shut, we actually were in talks with the Hilton, which is where we're sat now. And the Hilton they've got something in there, I don't know how it works, in their franchise agreement or whatever, where every certain amount of years they have to renew their gyms. And their gym was up for renewal and needed some money spent on it. And they were looking at different concepts to bring it in. And we kind of, obviously when we closed, we then temporarily moved here, if you guys remember, for December month, where it was their normal gym, but we moved here. And over the next 6 months, we've it worked so well temporarily. You know, we just let the members use this gym. We didn't make any money from it. They paid the Hilton because we obviously were shut. That we then decided to rehome here, and we've done a deal with them now. As you'll see, we've rebuilt a brand new gym here, brand new arena. It's incredible. All the things that we were floored with up the road, like parking, swimming pool, sauna, steam, we've now got here. You get unlimited classes, the arena's better, the gym's better. And it's gone so well that other Hiltons have now reached out, and we're in talks with 5 other towns and cities up and down the country to put Rise in.
Wow.
They say everything happens for a reason. 800k is a fucking sting.
That is a fucking sting.
And let me just tell you, I've not told you half of it. Like, I'm on the hook for that money. That money isn't disappearing. I'm having to pay it. So I'm having to get loans. I'm having to do other stuff to pay that money. It's not going away.
You're facing that's probably what's so authentic, mate, is you're facing the battle. People would run away. Like, people would, like, you know, do whatever it is. But, like, it sounds like you're actually facing it.
I can't run, mate.
Yeah.
Even if I wanted to, I can't run. I've got too much here. Like, I'm embedded. And this is the thing, right? So when you're the face of something, it's fucking great when it's going well. It's terrible when it goes wrong. Nobody knows my business partners. Everyone's ringing me. Yeah. Everyone's coming to the club ringing Halo. Where's this money? Ty owes us money. Ty owes us money. Well, no, mate. I actually owe you 33% of the money. 66% is owned by 2 others.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're coming to me. So if I want to carry on doing business in the town, I have to swallow that and go with it. I just put it down to a very, very expensive lesson.
Yeah.
I've got no other way of looking at it.
The thing is, though,
laugh or cry, right? And I'm laughing.
100%, and like, you'll come out the other side stronger for it.
Of course,
you always have, and you always will. Like, and there's no other option for it.
Everything I've come against until now in my life, and this is the same for you and every other human. Everything we've faced until now, we've got through. Everything we thought that was going to stop us in our tracks, that was going to kill us, that was going to harm us, that was going to end stuff, we've got through, and we're here to talk about it. So if you've got through all of that, we'll get through what's to come.
100%. And I guess that kind of brings us full circle to where we're at today. So, like, what is to come for you? Like, what is the next chapter?
I'm battling some stuff at the moment, mate, in my head. I'm battling which Ty I want to be. That's me being super honest and raw. Do I want to be Ty, the dude pre-COVID that was into business? Do I want to be this new guy that's into outdoors fitness? Do I want to be a podcaster? Do I want to be private? Do I want to be... I don't fucking know. This is a bit of an ongoing thing at the moment that I'm working through. All I know is I want to have free time. I want to spend time with who I want to be with, do what I want to do when I want to do it. However that looks, that's probably what I'm going to try and achieve. Like, and Ben said this, actually. Ben Reynolds, this is something he said that really stuck with me in lockdown. He used to think that he wanted to spend the next 20 years of his life to be retired and live by the beach and be on the beach every day. But both of us have discovered we can do all the things we wanted to do when we're retired now.
Yeah.
So why would you not want to live in the way that you want to kind of die, effectively? Why are you going to wait till you're 60, 70, 80 years old to read, to spend time with people you love, to do the things you enjoy? You want to do that now. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So for me, I'm getting older. I'm 35. I think from a personal perspective, I've been married now for 2 years. Kids are something that I look forward to. Being a father is like the biggest present for me. The biggest target I've ever had in my life was to be a dad. So that's kind of in the next couple of years, I guess. You know, if the universe allows it. I can't obviously force. There's 2 of us. Sure. We've both got to want it. From a business perspective, mate, I think I'm just going to carry on building the events. We're working on some other stuff, working on some festivals for next year, new one in this area, a legacy festival I want to kind of leave behind. I will probably at some point get out of the late night economy over the next couple of years, I think, just because my heart's not in it anymore. Like, my heart's now in these kind of like fitness challenges. I'm really into challenging myself to see what I'm capable of achieving. You know, with the 5 things I've done this year, from the half marathon to the 100k ultra, the 3 peaks. I was meant to skydive yesterday, and obviously the weather, it was called off again for the 3rd time. So I'm really enjoying at the moment, challenging myself mentally and physically, but not from a money earning perspective. Just how far can I go? How far can my body go? How strong am I? Yeah. That sort of stuff really appeals to me at the moment. Yeah, just fucking trying to do good, mate. Like, I think our one vocation on the world is to be a good human being.
Yeah. And
that's something Marcus Aurelius said, and I wholeheartedly believe in that. My dad always used to say that growing up. How do I affect the community and the people around me positively? That for me is what success looks like. It's changed now. Pre-COVID, it would have been a private jet and a villa somewhere, but I don't know if I can be fucked, mate. Like, I had the cars and stuff, and I still drive a lovely car, but it's sign written. I've got no desire. I'm probably back at a point now where I could probably buy a little toy. I've got no desire. I can't understand why I'll go back to paying £1,500 a month for a finance car.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me. I'd rather go on holiday, create memories, create experiences. That's what I'm trying to achieve now rather than things. I used to put all of my energy into things because I thought things would make me happy. And now I'm trying to put it all into memories and experiences. That's all we're going to have.
100%, bro. And we're definitely going to leave it on that because that's a big statement. Bro, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
It's been nice to sit here, mate, and not interviewing someone.
It's been insightful as well, mate, because
I hope so.
We only really see the picture you put out there, right?
You see the 5%.
Yeah. Exactly that.
Yeah.
And you're a G, mate. Top G.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Top G. Oi, oi.
Rate it, mate. Where can people find you, bro?
Instagram is at Ty_Temel, TY_TEMEL, and then I've got a website, tytemel.com, that just kind of tells you what I'm up to.
And a poddy?
Poddy is called Off Script. Oi, oi. Nice little plug, like it. I didn't know if you wanted to or not.
Of course, mate.
Off Script is called. It's on all the usual channels. It's like what these boys do.
Mate, thank you so much again from me as well. Really appreciate it, mate.
Cool.